All right, welcome back. Third time's the charm, I reckon. Stream went down. Yeah, that just happens. But hey, on YouTube now, every video is like perfectly one half of the event. So we hopefully doing well. We're about to hit the finals. I'm really excited. It's been quite the day. A lot of really exciting stuff. We're down to 4 players for our top 4 cut. Of course, got to introduce. I've been joined all day by Asphyxia and Marbles. Asphyxia, how's it going?
Good, a little sleepy, but we're keeping on.
Yeah, holding on there.
And all that energy. Yeah.
All the way on the other side of the planet, so it's quite late there. And even still quite late, Marbles, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing real good. It's only 9 o'clock here. It's like 9:30. I'm doing okay.
Not too bad. Okay. Well, we're just about, again, these are our final standings. We need to give a huge shout out. Only the top 4 are going to continue on from this point, but everyone who came out today is a winner in my heart. So as cheesy as that is, taking time to get involved in organized play, maybe again, for a lot of these people, it's their first organized play experience. I hope you had a good time. I'm really excited to hear more from y'all, to hear again how this went, what you do different, how it was different than your expectations, how it was better, how it's worse. But we're going to be back up real soon with the finals. So just to jump down to the finals, if you don't know how this works, if you go to the pairings, this is a top 4 single double elimination. It's a single-sided event now. So these players are going to be playing against each other, and they're going to continually play games over and over again until there's only one player left who hasn't lost 2 games. Now, not 2 consecutive games, but just 2 games in general. So for one player, could go undefeated and only have to play, I believe it's 3 games in a row. But for players coming from the lower brackets, they're going to have to do a fair bit of work. Our last 4 players here today, we have actually like a very diverse like spread. Almost every faction is represented. Sorry, Wayland, but starting here on our top seed, if I'm not mistaken, that's Melly. Melly, this is their first organized play event. On top, 21 points, playing Restoring Humanity and Captain Padma. I think they only dropped 1 game all day. I'm not sure what the maths is. I think that's basically what it comes down to. So, damn. On second, that
do you
is...
wanna...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you're in the middle of introductions for the players. But yeah, like the cuts, the pricing and stuff for this for this event. Quickly,
I don't know, so I don't exactly know what the pricing is. In short, so this is the GNK kit from, I think it's Q4 2022. So I have one kit here, which is the one that has Formicary and Full Art Chestushka. This event was big enough that we're just going to put 2 of these together and then divide that based off of that. I don't love to do top heavy pricing so much, so everybody, as long as they've signed up for optional stuff, we're going to give that. And then we have some other alt arts from the community and some other prize support. So that stuff will be showing up in the mail over the next couple of weeks. Again, give me some time to figure out how to send stuff to literally the whole world, which is an immense turnout. Otherwise, on second place, this used to say Yutari. This is the king. I think we're going to have a change of oracle. So Sengren SC is going to stand up to the plate to do oracling. So that's the name you're going to see online. Shout out to Jeff. Huge shout out to Yutari too, who unfortunately it's in the UK. It's getting quite late. So the top cut will have a different person piloting the JNet side of things. But Encoder making it there on third place, and fourth place is Sauce. So these are our top four. They're still picking the sides. It's not going to be open deck lists. A lot of times top cuts will be open deck lists, but for this, it's fine. We don't have collated deck lists. It's a pretty casual event, so they're still going in unknown as much as they're going to pick the sides. And again, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, I reckon it's so close to make the top cut. Again, we'll have more events, but y'all had a huge turnout, huge results competitively. So as much as it's 0.1 to not make the top cut, I think y'all had a great run. Oh, sorry, 1 second, just IDs. Cool. Otherwise,
really quick. The best way I find to explain the double elimination thing is just imagine that everybody has 2 lives.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the only intricacy is going to be that round 1 is the one round in which players are able to choose their matchup. So, for instance, Melly has a higher seed than Sauce. So Melly can see the 2 IDs or the 4 IDs on the table and say, I want to play Corp to your runner. Again, because this is single-sided, we're not going to see a Corp game and a runner game. Rounds are only 35 minutes. It looks like we have locked in that on the Oracle side, we're going to see Lou. So Lou is going to be played into Cody's Reality Plus, and we're going to see Restoring Humanity into Sable. Again, after that point, each player is going to be, by algorithm, they're going to be forced into play whatever ID they played less often, excuse me. So you're not going to be making choices. It's only the first seed that is picking. Oh, Casters, this isn't my first tournament. Melly is saying, okay, so we might actually have that wrong, but okay, that's good to know. Thank you, Melly. All right, stream is back up. Shoutouts in chat. If you can hear this again, our stream did just go down. No idea why, but we're in. Probably did something wrong with the form. Our narrative has fallen apart so hard, but that's fine. Still had a great tournament. All right.
Yeah.
Our tables are coming up. We want to watch Melly versus Sauce, or do you want to watch the King versus Cody?
They're both playing at once.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Do we know if the King is playing their loop deck? I'd quite like to see some more loops.
They're playing loop. I think we can jump into that.
Let's play loop.
Sorry, just give me 1 second. Sorry, Maddie's just checking. We have 40 minutes in the round again. Huge shout outs to Maddie, who's been organizing this tournament behind the scenes again. She plays Netrunner very casually. It was really funny when signing up, getting forums to say like, what's NEH on it? But a huge support from Maddie. So greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, shout outs to based partners.
Yeah. Oh, here, 1 second. It looks like time has just been called. It's 40 minutes we have for this. I do think 40 minutes is going to be more than enough for these games going out at the same time. And welcome to the top finals. This is Sengren SC. That is the King. Formerly Yutari was oracling. Again, if you're just tuning in, the King is visually impaired, so it's very difficult to operate Jinteki.net. So all that Sengren, all that Jeff is going to be doing here is basically explaining the board state, and all the decisions are coming through the King himself. Now, Cody, we've seen a very aggressive deck here. A lot of tag punishment. We have seen him just lose to, single accesses. That can happen. But server 1, I'm expecting an Amaze Amusements turn 1. That's what we saw before, right?
Yeah. That's what I would expect to be in there. If I were loop at this point, if I were the King at this point, I would not be running that server. I would leave it alone and focus on centrals.
Yeah, it's like, if you don't run this, what's the worst punishment, right? Like, if there's not a seamless launch, they're scoring out 3-2 agendas. Those don't do much. So dirty laundry here into R&D, going to get that imp ability again. When Lou trashes a card, it's a card and a credit to them. So this imp pays itself back, let alone 2 card draw, let alone the disruption to trash an ice like Ping, which for Reality Plus is basically a free res. We're going back here. We're going to see those imps being used to trash public trails, retributions, end the lines, any of the tag punishments. So Cody does have to worry about open centrals. Maybe we're just going to push in the remote sooner than later. Maybe it's just safe enough on a maze. There is a seamless launch. Let's see an off-world office. That's the best you can ask for. Maybe you'd be happy with a crypto crash, but 9 credits is a great start when so far the King hasn't shown any breakers, as much as that imp is good pressure.
I mean, centrals are completely undefended at this point. Like,
yeah. And it's like
quite the same, isn't it? Like, I don't mind. Go ahead, trash up my cards. I can live with that.
There's like inherently a big snowball too, right? Like if you're finding ice off the top of R&D, you can imp that. They're not going to be drawing. Again, that's the second ping in a row, which is kind of all you need to stop those free or cheap accesses to central servers. Leech also coming down. That'll matter later more than it will now when Earthrise is good card draw, but in theory, Encoder could throw down a public trail as much as that basically only brings down an Earthrise hotel.
I'm sure Encoder would love to see cheap ice right now, like having the pings ready to go. So Imp doing its job very well. Loop getting that econ for it.
R&D finding the piece.
So fast.
We're hoping, I think, for not a Vampire Gnostic, excuse me, an Unspawning Serebna here, a Funhouse. That's like the taxing stuff. I don't know if you want to pay a toll booth on this turn, but 2 pings down, that's like the cheapest res. In fact, a free res usually. So we'll see how the king can kind of rotate maybe to HQ. Raindrops, we're just sending it into the remote server. So if that's an agenda on top of a maze, you're going to take a bunch of tags. Funhouse makes that even more, as much as the subroutine needs to resolve for the raindrops, which I don't think that's going to be a problem. You can't afford to go through this, can you?
You take the tag. You take 2 tags.
Or tags.
Clear the base.
Right?
Oh, right. Of course.
Like if it's Funhouse into Funhouse tag, into a maze tag, into a maze tag, worst case, maybe even, what's it called? Tomorrow's headline. That's potentially 5 tags for a single run, which is actually quite difficult to find yourself in that situation in startup. That doesn't happen often. Build your own hard-hitting news.
At this point, I'd be running HQ to just get information. Like, how are they punishing me?
Yeah. Now that raindrops was pretty good. Again, 5 credits is a lot for single ice. You didn't get that 2 credit refund from the once per turn tag. And that raindrops is kind of like the closest you have to bravado in this format. Dirty Laundry finding the retribution. Hey, there's that punishment you wanted to get your eyes on. And I don't know if you're that worried about it, huh?
On this board state, I think you're fine with it. You'd lose what, a leech, maybe the fermenter?
Yeah. I think Earthrise might even be the most valuable target here, but that is a tomorrow's headline. So Cody just saying, I'm going to score on a remote server. Again, this is not entirely different than sometimes in standard, where it's like, it's really hard to deal with a funhouse efficiently. It's really hard to interact with a maze. So I'm just going to put my agendas in server 1 and hope that they're tempo positive enough. And yeah, I don't know. Did we see Cody on 3-pointers? Because maybe you have to score 4 agendas. That can be hard.
NBN has a few extra agendas than other factions, am I right in this? Or is this just my perception?
Sorry, that they have more.
They have more more agendas to put in their decks, I guess.
I don't know. I feel like so Wayland has the most 2-pointers. I think NBN has a fair few. They have the one. I think everyone has 1-pointers now. I'm not actually sure.
Yeah, like I'm not sure if. Yeah, I don't know if I was playing yellow, I don't think I would be playing a send the message.
Yeah.
I don't think I would in this deck. I think you'd want to go for 90 pointers.
Right. Yeah, you want to keep the game going so you can get that snipe.
Yeah, 9 2-pointers is just really important to keep in mind, right? Like this is 44, so we only have to play 18. So 9 2-pointers and forcing the runner to steal 4 of them is actually like a fair bit of work. As I think that's as unfair as the agenda suites get in terms of required accesses. Is if you're playing all 2-pointers, you're looking at about 18 accesses. I think it's on the 49. I think it's just a bit less on the 44. Now Cody has a problem with liquidity here. Regolith, Planogram, those are your kind of ways out of this. You can't even hedge fund this turn if you're going to put something in server 1, but you're going to have to fix that economy sooner than later. I think hoping you have a seamless and launch in hand that doesn't get imped is probably your best case.
Just keeping up with the tempo, just having something installed every turn. Like even if it's just like an asset, like the bluff is stronger.
Pinhole. We're going to see if we want to check the upgrade or the new card. Again, if you know it's an agenda, you might just send it through the funhouse and hope that they don't have very reasonable punishment. Shipment from Vladisibirsk is probably the worst, considering you have enough cards in hand. And yeah, it's an amaze. So maybe if you can take that down, you can deal with the rest of the server. Again, that server could, in theory, be 2 amaze as much as you can't have both of them rezzed, but that might just be an agenda that's 2 tags away or a tag and 4 credits. You might be able to run this. Seven in hand. I
really like the pinholes and just like holding onto it and like I'd be very tempted to get information there and be like, is it worth running and take all these tags? But yeah, it's all good. The trash costs.
Yeah, and like we can talk about how Pinhole is obviously like so great in this format, let alone any format. But the fact that Lou gets even more juice from it, you know, it's so nice too to get paid
Definitely.
and push yourself forward. No free lunch. You can contest server 1 here, even last click, as long as you don't manage to get a tag from, I guess it would have to be a snare. But we'll see. We'll pay 4, take the on encounter, I reckon, and then see what's in server 1. I think Spin Doctor maybe is the worst case here. NBN also gaining 2. That's good money. Funhouse going to fire. Again, you don't need a breaker for this ice, as potent as it is. Let's see a Beal in the remote server. Going to call it right and not have to deal with an amaze. That was such a well-timed Pinhole threading.
Okay, popping the new free lunch.
So 5 cards in hand. Public Trail can land, albeit I don't know what you're doing with tag punishment. Retribution doesn't hurt that much. Maybe you're happy to Retribution a Fermenter. I feel like it's kind of on the cusp of being okay, but Cody's just going to jam into server 1. And it's worth knowing if this matchup looks one-sided on one side or the other, and I don't think it is so far. This is the matchup that Lou, that the King, Yasengrin is oracling right now. It was the matchup they were more confident about. So I do think they understand how to play against this and how to play it out. Second Pinhole, 2 turns in a row, checking what it is. It's a Spin Doctor, just going to get that popped. So Pinhole doing something, albeit it's not going to get you that card or credit.
Or access on HQ.
Yeah.
Would you be tempted to run?
Yeah, not
I
optional.
guess it.
Yeah, Pinhole's not optional. Yeah, you're forced to basically just whiff an axis, which like, okay.
Yeah, that was I think face down in archives at the start of the turn, so you couldn't even like run archives first, just like try and get them to pop it. Just
yeah.
Pinhole second click.
That's really good. Like Cody wants to force runs on server 1. That's the only taxing thing they've got going for them. So anything in the remote server is worth doing. Where I at least have 2 Pinholes down. Dirty Laundry going to find that Retribution that's been there for a couple turns now. And on 9 credits, we'll see again what the multi-axis is. I think they're on 2 finalities usually. This is probably close to maybe the sort of list that Deer published. I feel like a couple months ago now, double endurance is the console we're expecting in Lou.
True. I haven't actually had much time to play with Lee. I think if I'm playing Anarch, it's mostly Essa.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
I think Lou is like...
It's exciting.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's so exciting, but I think Lou is like very quietly the no nonsense option. 40 minimum deck size, very relevant ability. You have the Anarch issues, but that you can solve so easily with endurance, and then you kind of have a really good engine. Imp is also really good in the form head, and if anyone wants to play 3 copies and feel great, it's Lou.
Yeah, definitely. The idea that Lou is this far in the tournament is just very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Lou would be my pick of what I think can win the event. So we'll see if that's the case. Cody, just going to perch. You're having to throw 2 cards at the same time. Again, you're not seeing a lot of Iris, especially now with no Wayland in the top cut. But that just sets a bit of credits back.
That was like a 6 charge, charge leech. Painful.
It's hard to perch for Mentor, right? Like the money is going to come back. So the question is, do they need the money in the next 2 turns? Because otherwise it's obviously going to get back there. And I think there's a case that's correct. I do think purging Imp is something you're going to see, but a liberated counts is going to make that purge for econ play feel a bit rough, as much as this is a pretty low tempo play in general.
I think it often comes down to, do I have drip economy on my side of the board? So taking this turn off, it actually isn't hurting me that much. I'm still getting value just from nothing happening. But of course, generally speaking, in Netrunner, if nothing's happening, the runner is winning, because you're just building up agendas, running through your deck, and getting closer to that point where you lose automatically because you've got nothing left.
Exactly. 3 cards on the table too. It's Cody's sensing that I'm going to force you to do something. Again, breakers we haven't seen so far. Buzzsaw works really well with the leech. I think 4 strength code gates are quite good in the format, and just maybe a single leech is in this deck probably a fair bit better than having to play Turbine for 4 influence. Double Funhouse, though, that is a server and a half.
So fun.
Now, Hush kind of works. It's pretty good in the format. But at least Cody being on 1 credit means you're not really worried about much in server 1. I think worst case is like Gaslight, and even then, I think you're kind of really scratching your head at what they can get to push them forward besides maybe Planogram. Server 2, probably Spin Dock.
That res put them down to 1 credit.
Yeah, you're kind of hoping they go through it so you get your 2 credits back. But again, when you're on 1 credit, they don't really have a reason to do that. Spin Dock shuffling 2 Unseens. Those were the discarded, I think, last turn after there was a purge on 7 cards in hand. But now centrals are wide open. Besides pop-up window, which is not very common, we can get as many accesses as we want here. We're in. Snare, though. Can't fire it. That's coming down for nothing. Glad to see. That's also going to give you a credit and draw a card. Like hitting the snare with 1 credit feels so good for Lou.
Snare, but it punches the cop.
Yeah. It's a weird reversal of roles. Server 1, though, now we are threading it out. If there's not an imp on the table, you have to respect seamless launches. I think we saw one of them shuffled back in with a Spin Doctor. And if that is like a crypto crash, again, maybe you're going to see the king float 4 on deliberate accounts to sort of play around that. I think with the fermenter, it's not entirely necessary. But off-world office, again, I think that's probably what Cody needs here, as long as just to make sure that you can maybe res some amount of centralize.
It's so fun to watch the king play. I'm so glad Isengrin stepped up.
Yeah.
So exciting.
For sure. Again, huge shout outs to any player oracling Serevna there. Now you don't have to pay the runner. Now you're going to see here, this is such a fun decision. One of these subroutines is, well, all of them are going to fire, actually. It's not a decision. Sorry, there's no breakers, but like, it's always fun to see the breaker decision here. We're going to hit, 2 Steelskin Scarrings? No, 1 Steelskin Scarring. Wait, no, that was 2 Steelskin Scarrings?
It was 2 Steelskin Scarrings. Very lucky.
Oh, that's disgusting. That's really rough. Draw 4. Okay. Cool. Serevna, we're through. Now the tag did connect. Cody took the 2 credits from that, pulling them back up, but that definitely feels quite bad here. Letting the runner draw through again. We've gone through half our stack so far, and we've played very few draw cards. I think the 44 and the Lou ability just kind of gets you that, or sorry, the 40 minimum. Opted also not to draw cards. It says you may draw 2, and Cody said no. So I don't think there's actually agendas in here. There's a seamless. That's the fear. With a single seamless, you can score out a 3-2 in the remote server. You're 1 credit short of the 4-2. So that really changes what the respect on the table is.
A little to think about here.
Probably gonna need to clear that tag. It's very different than standard. It's worth noting in standard, not that you'd see it in a Lou deck, but there are ways to like clear a lot of tags for better value. Cards like Misdirection. In this format, it's hard to clear a lot of tags. Like if you just send it through the Funhouse server, maybe you break both of them with Buzzsaw. Like it's really hard to shake that many tags. Top of R&D. Nothing.
This probably explains why Encardo was happy to go down to 1 credit on the Funhouse res. Having the seamless launch in hand means that it's very easy to get the agenda counters you need. It's probably a bail, right? If it's a 3-2.
I think that's also Cody's best way to score out and not have to score 4 agendas is like seamless launch a Beal. That's like really difficult, admittedly, but otherwise he's largely forced to score 4 2-pointers, which is kind of like the thing that you want to force onto the runners, not to yourself. Credit. Corp is acting. Wait, I did it again. I don't know what this is. I don't think we're playing a public trail here. We're just going to unwind that. Advance. It's a Drago. Again, that is free. And the question is, what do you do with the single tag punishment? Nothing. We are playing 2022 standard Netrunner. So now we're in a really awkward spot. Drago is, in theory, free. We have basically built Continental Season Netrunner in Stardom modernly. So if you don't pinhole the Drago and 2 pinholes are out, you have to go deal with him. Because he's going to give you a tag a turn. You're probably going to want to clear the tag. Not that the single tag punishment is as strong as it is in Standard. And eventually, it's going to be a problem. So we'll see how King deals with this, because I was not expecting this in the remote server. And let me tell you, this is definitely the most interesting board state I think Cody could have presented, as much as maybe the King just sends it R&D. Clearing the tag. Sorry?
Somebody gets Sokka in here.
Yeah, right? Raindrops into R&D again. You don't see a lot of times we'll be off the top, but raindrops, you generally just let that fly. Not that 3 credits gets you that much ice you're expecting with 2 pings in the bin. But now again, 2 more agendas is what we're going to need. We're going back, getting those leech counters. Maybe those won't matter. Oh no, 6 points.
Oh,
Such lucky rips. Oh my god.
Can you send it back here last click? Cody is 1 short of threatening snare, and snare is actually incredibly important because we've seen 2 Snealskins out. If a snare connects on last click, you die to end the line. Credit hedge fund. Okay, so we're not doing the Drago. We're just trying to threaten the ice on R&D. I think this needs to be like a toll booth to be taxing. I think a Serevna would have been fine too. But the snare threat is like a legitimate thing you have to play around. You might not see the king run, especially, I think, this far ahead, if we want to call it that. Accessing a snare last click is a very quick way to close the game. Four clicks.
I hate this value proposition. It's like take 2 to 4 tags to stop yourself from taking a tag every time.
Yeah. I think you let Drago fly, right? Like it's not like standard where like you get thrown out of the game with market forces or self-growth program.
Yeah.
Like the worst case, they retribution one thing. So like, yeah, maybe you crack your fermenter. What are they going to do? Trash your buzzsaw? You're not using it. So we'll see if this works as well as it does in standard. I'd be surprised too. I do think that we can just set up here on centrals and no res. Are we trying to force it like a last click ping? What do you not res there?
That's what this feels like. Maybe you don't res a toll booth because you're really hoping to find that end of the line.
Oh, pinhole threading. Yeah, I think you're right. That Drago comes down. Now Cody has way less to work with. As much as Archive Memories is also still legal in startup, that kind of diffuses the entire board state.
Yeah, I was gonna say like just playing carefully until you draw the 3rd pinhole is also a solution.
I'm not sure. Like, I don't know if this is like Deer's posted list. I think it seems close, but like startup decks are all somewhat similar, I think, once you get to the top tables. But whether there's a Katurga in there for recursion, I think that'd be quite nice because Cody can now say again, it's harder to make this bluff because again, it's game point. If you do get in, it doesn't matter if you have 6 tags if you win the game. But now the question is that anything else besides an agenda? Because you can't pinhole to check. A real high stakes bluff here. We'll see how Cody plays it out. Double seamless again, could win with a single Beal.
I'm very curious. I have a feeling it might be more Drago.
I think it might be more Drago. I think that Lou might just have seen end of the line off the top, and that's why he chose to use the pinhole then. He didn't mind too much them doing Drago over and over again because it's their whole turn, right? Their whole turn to stay kind of static, and they're only, they've got enough credits to keep taking away those tags over and over again.
We're calling it. If this is called as a non-agenda, there are going to be tags to answer for. We'll see how bad the punishment is with 4 cards in hand. Cleaver is coming down off the top, so that last ping, you're going to sail through it. Maybe that was the hope, that this is something that doesn't end the run. Again, sentries don't really end the run in this format. Triple Funhouse.
Wow.
Now,
amazing.
3 credits is exactly the amount you need to respect double seamless advance to get the Beal.
Amaze was the other deck. This is the 3 times Funhouse combo.
Triple Funhouse. All right, your hushes are not going to solve this issue. So this is definitely the deciding point. Going to bounce.
Amazing.
Saying
it's
unlikely you
and
have
I just
it.
gave you crap for it. But...
We're just sending an R&D again. Any single access to close the game wasn't res before an R&D. That's probably why we wanted to keep the credits for the triple Funhouse play, but nothing there. Cody could still have it. You need double seamless. We saw those shuffled back. We haven't seen an imp, which would definitely contest R&D and maybe disassemble that stuff as much as it's behind the Saryevna. 1 click left here. Hoping he doesn't have it. Headline is that. Oh, so the headline's on the right side of the score area. Like, that solves the question I had a bit ago. That's fine. Doesn't have it. Installs. Looks like Server 1. On some part of that's an upgrade. Now, if the upgrade is just an amaze, it doesn't matter because you win the game.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
But still, this is like, the sort of Netrunner that you're hoping for when you got into the game to some extent. It's just about, is it in the remote server? Is it not? Because while you can run this, none of this ice ends the run. It is going to be a world of difference if that is or isn't the right agenda. 6 tags in. Now 21 credits, 2 breakers. The Sentry breakers, I think we're calling it. Fun houses, mind you, you can only take 3 tags here if you want. You can clear all the tags. You just leech, buzzsaw, leech, buzzsaw, leech, buzzsaw, and then clear 3 tags. You can actually do this.
Provided it's not a Checkist Scion.
Scion's the worst case, yeah.
Yeah. Or a snare.
Snare's pretty bad too. If there's a snare, you're stuck with a tag and you're stuck with 2 cards in hand unless it hits the final steel skin. And that is a game winning line. Asking for take back? Yeah, totally. That's right. Take it back. Yeah, so we're giving a take back, no new information. So that's totally fine. Again, the rules are pretty generous in terms of new information gained. That's the thing that's hard to roll back. But if you just run into a funhouse, it's yeah, nothing changed really. So 4 clicks here, we might actually reconsider. But if you want to run first click into the funhouse, triple funhouse, you have to go first click if you're not taking a tag. It looks like we might not run it. Oh man, imagine being in Cody's seat, seeing that you have the agenda potentially in their mode server, they run and they say, actually, and then you allow them to do a take back, top of R&D. Nothing. Card still glowing yellow in server 1. For this to be the game though, it does need to be double seamless. So that might make you feel a bit safer about the board state. I think we can get a report, by the way, that Sauce seems to have won their first match on table 1. So this is the final game going on right now. Now, again, none of the players are going to be eliminated. This is the first round. You have to lose 2 games. You have 2 lives. So that puts Melly down on 1 life left. So they still have a chance of winning everything.
I love a double elimination. It creates like, highest stakes.
Yeah, exciting narrative, especially when you get the run back, when you get a like rematch against the person who knocked you down.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a good feel. Server 1, what does Cody have here? Not the win. Would Drago be enough here? I don't think so, but double in server 1. If that's a real defensive upgrade, like an Anoetic, I think that's kind of interesting. But trying to figure out how Cody's going to score 3 more points is difficult. That might have been a snare. Planogram for 3. 2 face downs in archives. Spin Doctors, 1 left. What else are we expecting in the remote server? Checkists, more of them. Sorry, Dragos. I don't know actually if I'm on the Checkist train. I think it's possible. But we don't see a lot of install advanced plays, which I think is what Checkist likes a bit better. But the King gear, 12 cards left. We're still waiting on 2 imps and the endurance. I think the endurance is the one thing that gets punished pretty hard by retribution into Drago. But I don't think this board state actually requires an endurance for as good as the card is.
I don't think it helps much here. I think all of the ice has expected you to play endurance at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Now that's an imp. This is important. Not only can this trash combo pieces, but this means you can see 2 cards on R&D guaranteed every turn, as long as we can pass this ice that wasn't rezzed on 9 credits many turns ago. Just a magnet. Okay, I see. That's why we're holding it. So not a great board state for this one. Doesn't hit a botchless. We're broken for 1. We get an imp off the top. Could be the winning agenda. And it is it. Off-rolled office off the top. So it looks like the King made the right call. Lou into the Reality Plus, but again, Cody's going to drop to the lower brackets, but that does not mean he's out. A hard-fought day so far. It looks like we're going to see the King versus Sauce at the top tables, and lower tables is going to be the final game for either of these players. Is that a snare in the remote? It was, says Cody. Off-world now. So it looks like Cody might have had to score at 4 agendas, which I think is really quite difficult. So we'll see how often he wins off of points versus winning off of everything else. So well played to both players. Good read is what the call was. Nicely done. Cool. So that is it for table 2. We're going to be going on pretty quickly to round 2. I don't think we often have breaks between these rounds. We can jump back to the Cobra and we'll see the results coming in quite soon. But again, these sort of rounds go quite fast considering they're single-sided. So looking at these results, we'll have the new pairing in just a second. Actually, give me 1 second to double check. Perfect. Maddie has just paired round 2, and we're going to keep going. So generally on stream, we'll try and watch the bottom table because that is the last game for one of these players, while we're for sure going to see more of the Sauce and the King going on today. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, that sounds very reasonable.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So give those players just a second to catch your breath. Again, you're going to see here it says runner and corp, and that's largely decided by what the players have played less often. You'll notice that Cody's actually playing twice in a row Reality Plus, and I imagine Melly means they probably played the other side on the top. Yeah, they did. But unfortunately, sometimes it happens that you played twice in the row the same, just because at some point it's not possible for everyone to play what they've played the least. So Cody's going to have to get used to that Reality Plus twice in a row. We'll figure out later if that was maybe the good pairing or the bad pairing.
There's no bad pairing.
Yeah, there's no bad pairing.
All the decks are good. All the decks are good.
If you only brought good decks, it should be fine no matter what.
I definitely feel way more comfortable on one side whenever I get to top 8 cut.
Yes. Yeah. When you're sitting in the upper bracket, oh man. Cody says that was the bad pairing. Yeah, that makes sense. Like that was chosen by the king. Okay. Crore actually has a visualization of the bracket. Sorry that Cobra doesn't have a visualization, but right now it's bottom bracket, top bracket. Top fours will be pretty good, but it looks like that lines up with what we're seeing here. So really well done, Crore. All right. Let's see the table spin up. Let's check out that Melly versus Maddie, I believe you can do the timer whenever you're ready. Players seem to be good. All right, round 2, we're off. Before we get into this, Cody taking the mulligan, I just want to say a huge shout out to anyone watching the stream, anyone who participated in the event. I've been pretty overwhelmed by the response to this event. Again, a lot of players getting in for the first time in organized play. A lot of folks also seasoned players, even in the standard format. So welcome to everyone. Glad you can join us. And we're off here. How much experience do y'all have in this sort of matchup, Reality Plus versus Padma? I feel like those are kind of what you expect to see here at top tables.
I feel like they're good at competing against each other. Definitely like a good counter to the endurance, obviously, is like making the accesses be punished somehow, whether it's traps or, just something else other than like on encounter ice and things like that. Things that, like a traditional Wayland or something might struggle to fight against the endurance with. So
yeah, I think that's a big part too, right? Like if you can call the meta and you understand, like obviously endurance is going to be pretty good in startup. Is there ways to make your ice suite good against it? Oh, we're still on the Cobra screen. That seems like an important thing to call it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Only a couple hours in, you can't tell. Whoa, and we're off. Beal scored on their remote server. That's kind of the Cody classic, just pushing out in their remote server. And it looks like we stole a freedom off of Dirty Laundry on R&D. So just trading those 2 points. Again, it looks like unless a Beal gets over advanced, we're going to have to steal 4 points on the corp side and the runner side. So there's a tag tech, no free lunch. Dockland's Pass, a nice little 2 influence inclusion to give a bit more HQ pressure if you're not playing Wake. Maybe you're still playing Wake in a Padma deck.
We've seen a lot of Dockland's Pass into Snap. So
yeah,
it's foreshadowing.
And we know Cody has 2 of those snares. I think at least 2 snares. So maybe it'll happen off the top. Spark of Inspiration, just hoping that loot box holds what you want, but it's a conduit. That's a pretty ugly install early, but you're just hoping for a breaker, hoping for, I guess, I don't know even know which breaker you want to get. At least 3 credits for conduit is cheaper than what it normally costs.
I'm really excited to see Spark Inspiration at the top tables. I think it's such a fun card that you do have to build around, but like that moment of excitement of, am I going to get something good? Am I not?
Exactly.
And in this case, it's kind of whiffed, but still.
Now Cody understands.
16 cards.
Wait, sorry?
The Spark of Inspiration went through 16 cards.
Oh my, I didn't see. Yeah, it dug through 16 cards. This is also like pretty meaningful too, because it shows your opponent what they expect in your deck. And I don't think there's any surprises here. Maybe the Liberated counts as like the wild thing. It's a good card, but on top of Telerig, that's money for days. So let's see if we can go faster than that catches up.
Oh, they're playing Endurance. Wouldn't have seen that.
All right, Seamless launch out Freedom Information. It does not have text on this board state. I wonder how much text it had today. It is definitely inherent tag punishment. It's nice that those don't take up slots, but we're hitting R&D here. Nothing to charge. Actually, no, we're charging the Nuka. That's reasonable. Second ice here, just to ping. You're going to get through that for the Cleaver, but you're going to take a tag for your troubles, and we're going to get 2 credits back from Reality Plus. So R&D at the top stays clean. Seamless launch is definitely an important piece. We're expecting more 4-2s than 3-2s. I think it's 4 3-2s. The rest are all 4. HQ Retribution. and a funhouse off the double axis. So Retribution definitely going to punish the endurance, but we're going to see that no free lunch stick on the table. We've seen very few public trails get played unless they're for lethal. Like, I don't think we've seen tempo public trails to clear no free lunches, as much as I feel like those are quite good. Into the depths here. With 4 credits, you're going to go through most everything. Pink for a credit. Now, going through 2 ice is the best for Into the Depths. 3 is kind of a bit more than you actually need. And we'll see again. This axis here, I think we know what this is. So this is just for value.
Yeah. I was wondering if they'd remembered their conduit won't fire off this, because that's the thing I always forget. I do a dirty laundry or whatever, and I'm like, why didn't I see 5 extra cards?
Yeah, that's true. You don't get extra cards, but you still charge the conduit, which is like nice. That's not bad. But like, you got a lot of value from that. Turbine coming down too. I think Turbine in this matchup is mostly just to be able to get through a funhouse once you get your buzzsaw. But otherwise, I don't think you're seeing a big stuff. Maybe a toll booth, but Cody's economy has kind of been rough between the games we've seen. Maybe that hedge fund will fix it. Now, speaking of economy, teleworks, prepaid. There's almost nothing Melly can do that's not going to give them credits. The endurance, though, is pretty expensive. Dirty Laundry, let's see if we hit HQ, but just archives for the endurance counter and those credits off of the prepaid makes Dirty Laundry a 4 credit econ card. It's a sure gamble and an access. Quite good.
I think we're looking at
ice this turn and this game. Sorry, Marvels.
I was going to say, I think we're looking at another multi-funhouse remote.
Yeah. It's like the taxing thing. It's a Drago on the remote server. Pinel threading for 0. Gonna trash Drago for 1. It's nice. You no longer have to deal with that server. And I think Cody's all about building that good remote server. We'll see if the Shaper can just batter down centrals before it becomes a problem. Amaze is also something you probably want to trash here while it's not potentially game losing. We'll take that down for 3. Is this a deep dive? No, we don't have clicks. But Funhouse on the outermost. It's not that much better than a ping if you want to bounce off of it just to get endurance or Nuka, but it is genuinely taxing, and you are going to lose to conduit if you don't address R&D. So I think that's a pretty well positioned funhouse.
Yeah, you always want to have something just because of Hadman's ability to generate charge counters. You just want to have something on top of R&D that just has a face check.
That's a magnet. Broken only for 1. We're going to let the Ender run fire here, but this is the sort of ice you're playing for the botchless matchup, and it's absolutely a disaster. And once the buzzsaw comes down against Padma, I don't think it interacts with anything. Maybe there's a hush you can scoop in one of every couple of games, but there's the buzzsaw too. So now with only 2 credits, a Docklands pass and endurance, this looks really rough for the corporation. It's been 2 turns. We've been just using the basic action card, and I don't think that's going to be enough unless Melly really beefs it into a snare at some point. HQ. Again, it's a credit. We get the endurance. We get the double docklets. That's a freedom of information. The final piece of tag punishment agendas, as much as you still have to play around that retribution and the shipment froms. But remote server is good. Melly's actually only on 4 credits now. As much as the no free lunch can be cracked here, they're going to have to spend some clicks hitting that liberated count.
On this top table, Encoders just encountered so much pressure game after game.
Yes. Oh, into the devs, you're really incentivized to keep just going through the server. 3 ice is a lot, but their first funhouse on the outermost, we're going through, taking the tag. Let's see if Cody goes. Again, Reality Plus, first tag a turn is 2 credits or 2 card draw. Going to be 2 credits there. We're going to go 1 deeper again with 7 credits. That's another funhouse. This means the last dice has to be ping or nothing else, but Melly might end up with a few more tags than they can clear. If they go through this funhouse, it's only a tag and a credit with the buzzsaw powered up Mach 2. So this needs to be a ping, but immediately if that's a ping, Cody's kind of out of money.
Retribution's only 1 credit.
That's true.
It's a very hard.
I think Headline also would be a 3rd tag, but we can definitely clear all these tags as much as it's going to eat into the no free lunches. So Melly's continuing again. There's a lot of money attached to that into the depths, a charge as well. You can install a program from your stack. I'm not actually sure what you want. If you have a fermenter maybe, but I think this deck is on liberated accounts instead.
I think you might put the encoder down just in case you see unsmiling at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's expensive, but yeah, you know, the echelon is definitely the way to deal with it. Maybe you can just bow through it, right? Oh, it is the ping.
Yeah.
That's the max punish. A tag is going to stick, I think, regardless, and you still need to go through. If that's a snare, unfortunately, it won't fire, but Endurance gets a counter. Into the Depths gains 4. We got to charge something. It's going to be Nuka. So much value. Let's see if they go for the program here. Again, they have to pay for it. It's not free, but I don't think there's anything more than 3. And it's an off-rolled office, so call on the remote server. Let's see if the tag punishment is actually going to be relevant with 3 freedoms. Not that they're good on the single tag. Thinking, of course. So let's talk about it. Like, clearing tags, expensive. You're not going to clear all the tags. Tag punishment, we're expecting the retribution. We've seen it. Shipment from the Disappearance requires 2 tags. Freedom of information requires 2 tags to be reasonable. So planogram is like, you know, fine.
The scariest thing is definitely a planogram, definitely.
Now, Cody's on no money, so you can maybe just send it into centrals. Yeah, we're floating 3 tags here, and I think you're only afforded that luxury because 3 freedoms are out. I summoned the planogram. I don't know if we've even seen any. Is Cody playing them? I hope so. Otherwise, you're just credit short at the double end of the line, as much as that's a lot of influence.
Oh my god.
It happened. Planogram. Wow. Draw 3, gain 3.
Exodia moment.
So now you can slam down an agenda and ship in from Vladislavsk. Retribution taking the boat down. Retribution taking down.
And the cleaver. Oh, the cleaver?
The cleaver.
Wow.
Now, and suddenly you have a board state again. Suddenly you have ice matters.
Clearing the tags here. Okay, so this is fascinating. We saw 16 cards or whatever it was on the Spark of Inspiration, which means this deck is on almost no way playing 2 cleavers, which means that Melee only needs to win on a single axis, but if they want to do that, they're going to have to install another Endurance. There's almost no way around it. Now, I don't think Cody's in a great spot because, again, it's hard to make bluffs on the remote server, and of course, there it is. But it does make things a bit more awkward for sure. Magnet again for 1 credit. Again, there was a draw on the planogram. We drew a lot. There could just be an agenda in there. Sarevna is...
Nobody expects double boat.
Yeah. You'll play triple boat. You do play triple boat. You're install triple boat if they force you to, for sure. Now Cody's still only on 4 credits. Not a lot of money. I don't know if Regolith is in the deck. Oh, hey. Summoned.
Install. We've been doing that a lot today, the moment we name a card.
Yeah. We could just make it happen. Now, we also saw Steamless in hand too, which Melee's going to have to keep in mind, whether you want to put something in the remote server in the next couple turns. Upgrade? Okay. Amaze is very likely. I don't know if we've seen much else. Melee just drawing up again. Credits to their name. A fair bit more now. Sure gamble for 5 off of the prepaid. And just running HQ is so easy here to see 2 cards and get an endurance counter. That Dawkins Pass has got, I think, an extra 5 or 4 axes. It's been really good this game. Snare, though.
There it is.
Gonna pay for that. Hitting a no free lunch, a new kind of liberated. Melee has a click left, let alone the no free if they need to do something cool here, but they just go down to 10. Keep their no free lunch on the table. Is that time of the round? That might be the end of round 2. If that's the case, this might be Cody here with the last click. They need to know sooner than later, but I think the time has just been called. We'll see if that timer is correct. Give us 1 second. Old timer. Okay, still 29 minutes. That's huge. Okay, that's actually quite good. Okay, so that's the old timer. It's just great. Okay, so no, we're gonna have a game here. We're gonna get to 7. That seemed like a really fast 40 minutes, but like these games have actually been quite exciting, so it'll happen.
I'm really curious about this upgrade in server 1 because there's no sense in putting an Amaze in there unless it's just as a bluff to try and keep your Regolith, but I don't think this deck's running a Sansan or anything like that.
Yeah, it's really important to know that this is not open deck lists, and in a lot of top cuts it will be, so you can actually get a full read on what that is, but like Melee just has to deal with the chance that it can be anything defensive. Spin Doctor and HQ seamless. Spin Doctor is going to go down. 11 credits again. It's so hard to force them to call their remote server. I think the best thing you're putting in there is a snare and then hoping they're biting. But anything you top deck that doesn't go out of HQ, they're running HQ every single turn for the boat counter, so this is very likely the game here on one side or the other. Do they have double seamless? That means the Beal can be the game point. But Spark of Inspiration, what can they find? Oh, a big old fish. Actually, whales are mammals, right?
They are. They are mammals.
Okay, very good.
I didn't want to say anything, you know.
All right, we're running R&D.
We've been doing this 7 hours. I think like it's okay to not know the taxonomy of certain animals.
I think the respect here is it's the Sariavna, and you can always pay Melly to make sure some of those subroutines fire. Now, Orca needs to break any subroutines. Oh no, fully break. So you actually can pay credits to deny the charge. I don't think the charge is that significant. So we're not going to pay the 2 credits here. So this is 2 credits for Orca. It's actually one of the best things in the format to deal with the Sarievna. From there, this run, mind you, sees 3 cards. We have not been talking about how the conduit's been loaded up for a minute now. So this is a huge run here. As much as the Funhouse will be tagged, Cody going to go for the draw. So if this whiffs, you can also run HQ to see 2 of freshly drawn cards. The ping. Innermost going to require the break of the endurance, and this is a huge amount of accesses here. Padma choosing to hold on a couple turns before sending it R&D. Let's see if this connects again. Snare is alive and well. First card coming up. Spin Doctor going to draw 2 more, shuffling back in. That is anything you can to make sure you don't lose here. Shuffling back in a snare and a seamless. 1 card off the top. It's a snare.
Oh my gosh.
2 snares in a low can be lethal. We have 1 card in hand. It's a second snare.
Oh my god.
Cody has it. Double snare.
Oh
Going to
my
take it
God.
from Melly. Big dive on R&D. That Spin Doctor might have made the huge difference. Seeing 2 there off the top. Again, 6 damage. We've seen the double snare plays. Miracles do happen. Asking about the hand. Only 2 snares in the deck, and we saw them card 1 and card 2. One of the few ways you can tax out a rig like this is just getting enough snares in there. Truly incredible. Wow.
I think blessed sums it up. Holy wow. Like, what are the odds? Like, I didn't even want to start to calculate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very quite low to hit 2 snares in a row before 1 agenda. Yeah, Miracle Table 2023 is exactly it. Cody definitely in a rough spot there, but Snare's just carrying you through. Again, another angle of attack has to be respected there. And sometimes it's not only like the damage, it's just like the tag subtly could be a problem, but very, very good. Better lucky than good. Hey, both players.
Those are great bluffs.
Yeah, yeah. Snare and remote server has been kind of Cody's line for a while now.
That was roughly a 1% chance. I've just worked it out with 2 in the deck.
What?
Wow.
It was roughly, a 1% chance, pretty much.
Yo, that's wild. Melly, huge run today coming again. I think they only lost 1 game to Till the top cut. Unfortunately, this is their 2nd loss today, so that'll be it. But huge run there, Melly, doing really well on that Padma deck. And I think restoring humanity, the top placing Jinteki ID, let alone the top placing Corp. But Cody's going to be hanging on there with 1 point left. Had a really interesting day. Again, Cody did get a game loss just for being late to table. So I imagine it's hard to sometimes shake that off and put your best foot forward, but it looks like he is holding on. So well done. Well done. Let's jump to the last game we have here. Again, this is the 2nd round, and we have a setup for both players. On the bottom, Sengren is oracling for the King. King doing really well here, and Sauce is set up. Again, I think that's a double endurance list. No endurance on the table, but we have double Matryoshka. Matryoshka, for what it's worth, not very good at dealing with cards like Anoetic and Managarm because you can't really run back functionally. So getting the pinholes off seems really important, and it looks like we did pinhole an Anoetic. This could be game and server 2 if the King was hoping an Anoetic would connect. 13 credits, leech to Matryoshka. This easily could just be the final run of the whole game. Now, mind you, this is top table, so both of these players will continue on, but obviously every win is an important win. We'll start here with the on-sell. Mind you, Ganked has rotated from the format, so this on-sell is only going to connect once, if at all. Leech bringing it down. That's going to be 3 credits with the Matryoshka flip.
I completely forgot about Gang.
Yeah, right? Never forget Ganked. We're through. Oh, GG's what Jeff is calling in chat. It looks like that might be the winning agenda. No real point resing. Sauce is going to find it. Currently, the undefeated top cut. That means Sauce will be playing in the finals guaranteed. We're going to have at most 3 more rounds. We're going to get the final, a lower bracket finals, which again, the King will be facing off against Encoder. That is the matchup we saw in round 1. So Cody has the run back there, and it's very likely he won't be playing Corp, considering he played 2 in a row. From that, whoever wins that will be fighting off Sauce in the finals. We have only a couple rounds left today. Again, I know it's getting early in the morning at some parts of your worlds, but Thanks so much for joining in. I think we're going to throw to a quick break here, but we're going to be quickly on to the next round. Thanks so much for joining me. By the way, this is the Metropole Grid. If you're just tuning in, if you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow on Twitch, it helps us grow. It'd be deeply appreciated. But huge shout out to all the people today who helped come together to make this event happen. Real quick, we're going to throw to a break just to get some water, stretch our legs, but we only have a couple rounds left. Again, I'm joined by Asphyxia and Marbles. Thanks so much for joining me, y'all. You still doing okay? I know it's getting late on that side.
Well, the energy of these games is keeping me awake, I'll tell you that. It's better than coffee.
Glad to hear. And we're going to actually see a bit more coffee with those Chesbas, but we're going to come back to a break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back. We're just starting. This is the lower finals here. On the bottom, that's your synchronous SC. Start when you're ready is what it's called. So this is the lower finals. It's totally worth noting that both of these players have lost one game so far in the top cut. So good luck, have fun to both of them. Whoever takes the last loss here, that's the end of their run here for our GNK today. Top cut for our GNK is pretty wild. I'm like really stoked that people are excited to kind of like push the envelope and go deeper and deeper down that competitive play. But yeah, Sengrin here is oracling for that is the king. Across we have Encoder, who I think we just crunched the numbers. Marbles, you said there's a 1% chance to die to double snare on R&D, and yet we found it.
Yeah, with only 2 snares left in the deck and 14 cards, my calculations say it's about 1%. Somewhere between 1 and 2.
So let's see if Cody's luck has kind of come to an end, but that's an early magnet on server 1. We'll see what's in the remote server. With seamless launch, precision design is threatening out just about anything in the remote server. So Cody needs to get that endurance down, get that economy up, find that buzzsaw, a lot of stuff to do. And PD, kind of the way that Cody plays the Reality Plus, can actually be pretty jammy. And a lot of those agendas kind of still push you forward, even if it's just a Vitruvius with a counter, that can get you more seamless launches. And that all kind of contributes to your board state.
Yeah, I haven't seen the king play much HB. Obviously, I have not been following the trail, mostly in setup. But yeah, like from the games I've seen before, they seem like they've got a game plan, and it's usually like good stuff.
Yep. No, I think this is going to be the no nonsense. From what we've seen before, I think we saw double Anoetic, double Managarm, which is kind of what you expect if you look at PD decks circa even a year ago, 2 years ago. I forget how old System Gateway is at this point, but Nico campaign is one of the best things you can get in the remote server. It's no Rashida, but 7 credits on a card draw is a lot for a single card. That's for sure.
It's a temper positive when you res it, right?
Yeah, it's one of the few ones that gives you the actual credit when it's res. Take that, Marilyn. Cody there, reasonable start early. Fermenter splashing, I think 3 of these. We saw some of the lists on Liberated. Fermenter also works quite well. And Earthrise Hotel for just some card draw, as much as that is technically a charge target. It has power counters on it, and I think we're going to go get a third one. Now R&D. The face checks are kind of interesting. Rotator is not what I expect, and I think that is one of the interesting eyes we're seeing. I think 2 or 3 even in this list allows you to punish that early aggression of the Fermenter. That sets back a fair bit of money on the runner side. Like the runner has nothing now, and you need to install your Echelon or your Endurance, but 1 credit. Let's Laundry HQ here. I forget what we saw on the previous turn. Maybe we'll see it again. Managarm, can't trash. Good to know it's there.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm happy or sad to see the Roboturret face check to hit the Fermenta. Like, it could have been something much worse, but at the same time, yeah, the econ hit is a little brutal early game.
It's like the early centuries now in HB, right? Like on Cell, you can click through if you respect it. Drafter was like the big thing in Standard and old startup. And on this board state, it would probably be okay. But now having to worry about Rototurret, you're seeing more and more of that. It is quite difficult. But again, maybe you just don't install programs. Maybe you just send that and make them spend 4 to end the run. Now, next turn is where you have to worry about Nico, because that is the turn that Nico is going to be replaced. You might get that extra card draw to get the Managarm and an agenda behind a magnet, and that might just do it, even if an Endurance hits the table. Drawing 2 off the top. If you want to just get a counter on the Earthrise, you can just fly into the Rototurret. Maybe not the best use of click, but Info Bounty might change that math once you get your breaker down. It looks like we're doing it. We're just spending a click to draw pseudo 2 cards.
Yeah, oh, well, there's no programs to trash, so why not?
Yeah. Is it better than clicking for a credit now? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. It's just a click for 2 credits, but offshored. So as long as that Earthrise sticks, I think you're going to be okay. All right. This is the turn. This is where you kind of push for it. You kind of see that, you know, the topography of the game from a distance from Nico. Nico empty. Nico gives more cards. Push in server 1 if you can. No breakers, but 16 credits means very easy to have an Endurance there in hand, and that's going to upset the single magnet on the remote. Oh, we saw an Unsell. That was the other card we saw. That could be the Unsell on server 1. There you go. That's kind of what you expected. Now, if it is on sale, that's a lot of money. That drops you down to 2 credits. With Seamless Launch, you can still sometimes sneak out some really cheap agendas. But otherwise, it's hard to contest this potentially if you don't do it soon on in the turn. Now, Archives is the mark. So you have a click for 2 credits. Endurance now makes a click for 2 credits and a charge. Or even you could run it R&D, I suppose. I guess Archives is a fair bit better. What do you need here?
Yes, with the info bounty targeting archives. Yeah.
I think you need a pinhole here to be like really confident, right?
Yeah, to avoid the anoetic, the anoetic void, you can take on a Managarm on this board state, I think.
It looks like we're just going to let it ride. Dirty Laundry straight into archives. That's 5 credits and an endurance counter. Again, getting the once per turn endurance is a really important thing that a lot of runners are going to heavily value. Now also running R&D, mind you, it's technically free. As much as we didn't get the info bounty there, you can spend 2 counters to get 2 counters. It doesn't push your boat forward, which on this board state, we're going to depend on that to contest the remote server. But always worth keeping in mind. Seamless launch. Let's see what agenda we have. The first card to go down is the agenda. A lot of times runners will mix that up on purpose, or Corpse will, to try and make it hard to pinhole. But Vitruvius going to get a counter on top of the precision design ability. That's recur 2 cards of choice. One of them public information, the other one at instant speed down the line. Seamless is the choice. And remember, at instant speed, we can always recur a card, which means a non-advanced card in server 1, we can do seamless, advance, recur the seamless, seamless it again. So any card in server 1 can be a 5/3 agenda. And I do think there's send a messages in this list.
Conduit. I never advanced for Vitruvius is so scary.
It's good. Like this agenda, the text on it is quite worth pursuing. And I hope startup players recognize that, as much as you're not seeing a lot of like biotic labor recursion. Now here we are.
Give me Arc Lockdown for the runner, please, and thank you.
Conduit coming through. Again, endurance can get through that road turret. You get a charge back on successful run. This is an Into the Depths, mind you. It does work with Conduit. You're going to get the counters. You're only seeing 1 card here anyway, so you don't mind. But we'll see how quickly an Echelon comes down. It could even just this click. Looks like that's what we're going for. There you go. So Roto Turret now is only 2 credits. And you get all that value, mind you. The info bounty was also an R&D, a really well-timed turn, also hitting an Anoetic off the top. So I think we're pretty sure Managarm is in server 1. We're going to know what we need for that. We're going to go back, seeing 2 cards. And if the king can't break R&D lock here, you're going to be in a bad spot where you know you're not going to draw into agendas. It doesn't matter how many cards you can recur with your Project Vitruvius. Drawn up. Again, these are known cards. We know the next card on R&D as well. So again, if there's not enough agendas in hand to win, you're going to have to figure out how to break lock here. Spin Doctor is the natural inclusion. Sometimes you'll see Sprint. Sometimes Planogram to draw 3 can work. The question is whether the remote server on its own will hold out. So there's a chance you have to weather the storm, get a second ice in R&D, and just stabilize before worrying about pushing the remote server and breaking that sort of R&D lock.
It's so hard to think of what ice you could put on R&D here that would stand up for any length of time.
Yeah,
you know, and a Magnet's not going to do it. An Eli's not going to do it. And any Sentry is going to get broken, admittedly, for a lot of credits with Echelon.
I think you want Brawn, and I wonder if you risk letting them see a send a message so you don't pay 6 on this board state. Like, it's always worth knowing, or like keeping in mind that sometimes if their aggression can benefit your board state, because resing an on sell potentially on server 1 is almost all the money. Again, there's double install on the table, forcing maybe some interaction here. Archives to get 2 credits and an endurance counter is pretty good. That Earthrise has been there since turn 1. Still just getting a free card draw turn after turn. So we'll see which direction Cody goes here. Contesting the remote server, even just making King spend money resing ice might be just good enough. As much as, again, they can play seamlesses, they can recur hedge funds in a pinch if they really think it's necessary. Let's see, do you just send it? Like, what's the punishment on the face check? Code gates don't hurt you. Pinhole, we're going to go check what that is. Again, we know server, the ungolden card. It is an agenda, the golden card. Can we deal with Managarm this turn? Mind you, we could have trashed the Managarm and then checked server 1. But now we know if we run and the Managarm is res, you have to spend 2 clicks or 5 credits. That's on the cusp of being doable on 6. Assuming, though...
And being able to get out the seamless launch out of the bin means that, you know, they can spend as much as they want if they do run, right? Like, they can res ice, they can get the Managarm up and, like, put themselves in, like, 2 credits or something and still get this Vitruvius out. So it's, a tricky position.
And I think even plays like this, like, if the king knows that Cody can get into the remote server, but it's going to be expensive, sometimes you take those plays, right? Because it forces Cody off of that pressure off of Conduit. It allows you to break lock and buys you some time. So yeah, maybe if they spend a lot of money to steal the Vitruvius, that can be okay for you. But this is going to be a super important turn for Cody. We have 4 boat counters, but we're just going to send it. We're going to say, you can score the Vitruvius. You can get an advancement counter on it if you want, but you're going to have to stop me on R&D. Now, this is the classic fork, right? If you spend a lot of money resing this ice, maybe you can't score out. Maybe you can't even defend server 1. So maybe Cody can have his cake and eat it too. Pressure with Conduit, then swing server 1. So we'll see here again. Jenny, you're talking about like what ice this could be. Brawn would be so much money, but that's the only taxing real thing here.
This is what I was expecting. Something small, like White Space, Enigma, something like that.
So we're going to endurance through that. Those are very good subroutines for as little white space as you see in the format. Echelon is going to be for 2. We're going to see 3 cards here. Charge our endurance. Actually, it's already been charged. So we got Earthrise Hotel value. 3 off the top. This is not a snare list. I wonder if every list should be a snare list in startup. It just kind of works, huh? 3 cards, nothing. No steal, no trash. Conduit on 3.
White space on R&D like this is so good as well, because it means that you can't just bounce off R&D to charge counters either.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're never, well, until you get a decoder installed, you are never going to have a better than a boat neutral run.
Yeah, definitely.
Once the buzzer comes down, like that's kind of the shelf life of most of the HB code gates, but like I think you're very grateful to have the white space there for now. Now the king has to figure this out. We know that they can score out. They can even seamless out if he wants. He can score out the Vitruvius. 2 counters is kind of nice. It's a bit extra. You don't really need it. You could also like Vitruvius for a hedge fund, seamless, pullback is seamless and something else. Like you have a bunch of options here of scoring patterns. I just think if you seamless really hard to the Vitruvius or advance really hard, you're suddenly underneath that hedge fund threshold or the threshold to threaten reasonable ice. So I'm very excited to see what the king thinks of here, because they do know that there's a sitting duck in server 1. And you might not be able to protect that for that much longer as soon as a buzzsaw comes down.
Honestly, the conduit is the scariest thing here.
Yeah,
and I'm wondering if I'm wondering if they're considering just like purging.
Yeah, I think it's a real consideration. Vitruvius, or not Vitruvius, Luminal in the remote server. We know that's not the case. That's maybe the best way you can possibly purge in the matchup, but people are not playing Mavirus. And this conduit, again, you have to trade your whole turn for something that it won't spin up that fast, as much as, you know, they're not excited to run R&D for the next couple of turns if you do purge, since they know the next 2 on the top. We're going for it. Seamless. 1 advance. So Vitruvius not for a counter. Now, we do fire the precision design, so we'll see we want to pull back. We're going for the hedge fund this turn. So unfortunately, we're 1 credit short of scoring that, or sorry, playing the hedge fund. But we're on 4 points. So now, again, just having a single seamless in hand and an unadvanced card threatens out the wind with the send a message. It's very unlikely that the king is going to want to res anything here, considering they need a hedge fund out next turn. Does that mean that Cody can contest HQ, contest even server 1 to deal with the upgrades? I think it's a possibility, but it looks like we're going to send it here. We'll see if there's a res. Single access on HQ. And again, a lot of these cards we saw off the top of R&D for the last couple of turns. So the value of this access is more so about the endurance and the info bounty than it is seeing something new. We're in. Spin Doctor. That's a good hit.
Yeah.
But then again, seeing something new is always nice. Especially when it's like a spin doctor you can get out of hand.
That gets trashed for free after the info bounty, and the fermenter is going to come down. That is the economy over time threat. Not that we don't have a telework, but we'll see here again. We know 2 of the cards in hand off the top of the deck. Maybe there was a spin doctor coming up there and a hedge fund as well. So I think the hedge fund's probably where we start on this turn. Let's see if we can get something in the remote server, or whether this is a nice time to purge. The fermenter doesn't really change the math that much, but I guess you want to get your values worth.
Midterm, it's definitely purge bait. I don't see that fermenter getting popped for more than 2 or 3 counters. You want to take the conduit out anyway.
Yeah, that's the priority here, and it's not going to get purged. I think that is a draw. So yeah, R&D is actually brand new cards, and I don't think that Cody's going to be pulled out of R&D here. So you can run R&D in C4. That's a lot.
That could be the game on its own.
That could be the game. Yeah, we've seen Wilder. Earthrise now finally finished. It's turn 8. Earthrise came down on turn 1. This thing drew 14 cards. Actually, wait, did this draw 14 cards? That's astounding. We're sending it. Again, no buzzsaw off the Earthrise Hotel, so we're going to have to boat through the white space. Now, we did throw out one endurance. It's worth noting that some of these shapers can be a bit more aggressive with their endurance if they just rigging up their second or third. Like, that's a nice way to refresh things. But we're going through the road turret for 2 cards. We're going to see 4 cards here. Money to trash if we need to. First card off the top. Looks like it's a trashable. Nico goes down. That's going to allow you to see deeper, as much as the Nico might not be the best top deck. And an Anoetic. That means you go back, you see 3 more cards.
My goodness. Just seeing so many cards. We've seen like a lot of whiffs tonight on like huge digs.
Cody has accessed a lot of cards and seen no agendas. Like a lot.
Amazing.
Yeah. I wonder if his luck, again, a double snare, you're asking for a lot there, but whether they're
we saw a
events.
deep dive whiff earlier.
We did, yeah. Yeah, that happens, I reckon. That's why people stopped like Hushik, right? Stung once, twice scared or whatever. We're going HQ. Again, I do think most of these cards might be known. There might be one that snuck through. The question is like, is server 1 an agenda or just a bait? Spin Doctors 1 are down, Anoetics 2. Managarm is the ungolden, the unhighlighted card in server 1. So we're deciding here whether we want to res. It's last click. The endurance is getting low. Again, barriers. I don't think there's a face check punishment on this. Maybe a Brawn, but probably you don't. So we're deciding. It is just a road turret. So we're going to pay half of res cost every time to deal with this. You can't really let this thing fire, considering obviously all your board state. But Info Bounty's going to get through there for free. Seeing a Brawn from HQ, I reckon that was came off the top of the deck. So technically a free run, considering the Info Bounty. So definitely a server that you can run relatively easily if you ever run your mark there. Whoa, Seamless is an agenda. Wait, is this game? Is that a send a message? It's a send a message?
Oh my god.
Get out. Nice. Wow, good game. That broke R&D lock. That must have been an HQ for so many turns, because I think Cody saw so much over the top R&D and got nothing. This thing barely got on a remote server. It's likely somewhat defensible, but kind of a hard push. But admittedly, if that's stolen, I do think that the King isn't that upset about it. But unfortunately, Cody is going to take their final loss of the tournament. It looks like our final here is going to be between Sauce and the King. But yeah, Cody's saying that must have been in there for a long time. That had to be in there for such a long time. Yeah, you missed
Such
it
a great
bunch.
showing from Inkerta.
Yeah, happens.
Like so many games. Bad luck, good luck here and there.
It's been absolutely wild. Cody's ride here has been ridiculous. But this is unfortunately the end of the road. Thank you so much, Cody, for playing here in a top 3 cut in a really big field. Is really well placed. But good games to both players.
Something that we've seen these last couple of games is that skill will get you on the green, but you need a bit of luck to putt you in at the end.
Yeah, there's some absolute wild circumstances. It's also like a really cool match, right? Like the PD deck never felt fully in control. I think forcing the runner across, good ice choice and ice placement obviously is super important, but like good game to both players. Good luck in the final as well. Cool. And that is just about potentially. We're on to our finals. Again, we'll get the results in quite soon. And it looks like this is the start. Sauce is going to be playing Corp against the King on runner. Again, the Sengren is oracling. Shout out to Sengren. Shout out to Utadi, who's oracling through the entire Swiss rounds. And it's really important to know that Sauce here is on the upper bracket, which means that they only have to win a single game. King has already took 1 loss earlier in the format. Who did the King lose to? Was it to Sauce? Yeah, it was to Sauce.
Yeah.
So this is the run back. I think it has to be, right? I don't think there's any way else that works. Maybe that's not true, but
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So Sauce only has to win one game.
I want to believe.
Yeah. We have 4 different factions here represented, which is really cool. Padma did not even make it to the final, as much as she was the most represented, almost getting there. Cody was the last bastion of Shaper. But we're going to see first here, that's going to be the Near Earth Hub Broadcaster versus Lou. And if you ask me, I reckon that's probably the easier matchup for the runner. I think Lou inherently wants to trash a lot of stuff. So we'll see. Again, Sauce has played some really mean lines to get things on the table, to get tag punishment to connect. That doesn't look like it has any business being there, let alone sometimes the surprise damage of certain traps. So Really excited to see how this matchup goes. Again, the king has to win 2 in a row. As soon as Sauce wins 1, that is the end of the event, and they are crowned the champion of our April 2023 GNK. This is a wild event. I have not seen a top cut in a GNK, I think, ever. So this is fantastic. Thanks to everyone for going the distance here.
Like never?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's so fun though. I love top cuts.
Top cuts are good, but like it's often like a store champ or a CO or something. Like GNKs are, you know, meant to be more of a casual thing. But hey, we're good to whenever we go. We're in. Welcome to the finals. Again, Sauce here is in the upper bracket. They only have to win 1 game here. In terms of mulligan, Sauce took it. Sengrin there, oracling for the king kept, and we have 3 cards on the table. So Lou will trigger, but only on 1 of these, likely, if we want to fire. I think an imp is the econ option to start the game. We'll see if we have to pay out of pocket. Cody in chat.
We saw Sauce start with this opening a while ago, actually.
Yeah, we'll see how this lands. Again, Sauce is good to put agendas on the table. I think Lou is the one wilder you're a bit more scared of because they're very likely to want to check considering they get good options regardless how things go. Dirty Laundry here on server 2. This pause maybe looks like there's a hostile architecture on the table, or maybe it's a spin doctor. Oh, maybe resing the Maryland campaign is the concern there.
Yeah, if you don't know, the trashing the res Maryland campaign puts it back in the deck, but if it gets trashed face down, it goes straight to the archive. So
exactly. Whether you're
a decision to make.
If you're excited, I don't know if you're ever excited to pay 2 just to get this thing back in rotation. Like that's a lot of money, especially turn 1. But there we're gonna
I've seen people do it.
You see, yeah, I don't know if it's right. I've seen people do it.
If I'm 10 plus credits, I'll do it. Yeah. Otherwise, no.
Yeah, it's harder in the early game. But Lou, so far, good econ start. Dirty Laundry, sure gamble. Earthrise to get card draw. We'll see if we get 14 off that. I imagine we probably won't. But Gaslight, this you can get a public trail. The question is it a legitimate punishment? Like public trail into trash Earthrise, it's something as much as it costs you 6 credits. So we'll see what the pull is here. I wonder if it's an end of line. Okay. Oof. Okay. It's hard to hold that in hand. Maybe when Lou can get some imps down and pressure centrals. I think this is going to be an exciting game.
It's such a hard call to make. It's a cold shot, right? It's like this is just in my hand now, and you have to play around it.
I think
but I think that's so powerful.
Yes,
it's telling the runner, please stop running my stuff. I will kill you.
I don't think we've seen Sauce pull anything else with Gaslight this whole day besides end of the line, which like respect. Like yeah, I get it. That's cool. Earthrise for 2, server 1 not rezzed, not scored, not touched. I think that has a chance of being that sort of what's it called, the Reaper function, which seems integral to these kill lines. I wonder if the king is going to respect that. I wonder if they've seen this matchup so far. Again, just keeping a steel skin scarring in your hand kind of turns off the whole combo if you're not unlucky on where the early damage, the chip damage lands. HQ.
This is the danger though, when you show that end of the line, that they will they'll find and install no free lunch as quickly as they possibly can, and then a lot of your options disappear quite quickly.
There's a public trail. Yeah, we've seen that, but we've seen those are the plays. I think we saw that great gamer Sauce like install advanced Drago and then blew through a single no free lunch. It like forces a much harder play pattern out of Sauce, but just keeping the no free lunch buys you so much breathing room, especially when you just see that public trail in hand. It's a daily business show. Probably not rezzed on turn 1 just so that we can hedge fund off the top. I wonder if that was already in hand off the mulligan, but that makes sense. And now we're going to start controlling the draw. But if Lou gets down an imp, you're happy taking that to DBS. Maryland campaign is probably pretty important too, but ice on HQ is super integral against the end of the line in hand, let alone Lou with 3 imps. We're not seeing Carnivore, mind you. We're going to see Endurance, so it's imp or nothing.
What's really interesting is that the daily business show is putting all these your big agendas at the bottom of your deck, hiding them from the game. But then Maryland, when it's done, just shuffles your deck.
I think
it's optional. Maryland is optional.
Yes. Optional, right? Of course, of course.
But I do think there is a lot of players that by default, will just shuffle it back because it feels good. And sometimes it's to your advantage. Like sometimes you're in the mid game where you have a scoring remote and you actually value that. But I do think there are chances that you might not shuffle the Maryland depending on board state.
I'm being called out right now.
No, that's good. It's like it's something that's you have to keep in mind, especially as a viewer, that's like a very important decision.
Yeah, I definitely just chuck it back in there because it feels good.
yeah, it does feel good.
Yeah.
Leech on the table. Botchus is going to build up on HQ again. I think the most subroutines you see on an NBN Ice is 3, but if that's the case, they can still get you with Tsarevna as much as we maybe don't expect that. 2 more on the table. I'm surprised that we haven't seen Lou pulling these servers apart, but I think there's some respect about economy, and unfortunately Leech is probably not the fermenter we want on this board state.
I wonder if there's a breaker or something important in hand, so hitting like a snare or an Oedeker or something would be a bad call.
Yeah, Leech is like interesting. I don't know exactly what it helps in this matchup. I think it's mostly Funhouse that hits good breakpoints. I don't know if maybe you break a toll booth, but it seems the least important in this matchup, barring, again, maybe the Funhouse is that important. That's a Steelskin Scarring. That's really important to track. 9 cards in hand. Because that is the thing that saves you against the potentially surprise damage combo that Sauce has been delivering. There's a fermenter. There's its friend. So now purging seems a bit better, as much as that's still a difficult thing to do. Maybe with some drip economy from Maryland's and pad campaigns, it seems a bit better. But the King's economy just isn't there this game. They still have to discard 2 cards he has to throw it. Oh, what's the best case on the table? Mimics out and the second Leech. Did we see Hosta Architecture in this list? No, that was the Ampere one, right?
I think both, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, maybe also Bladderwort too. Like we've seen very little Bladderwort today, and that's definitely a card these Near Earth Hub decks can't play. 15 credits makes that a bit of a different proposition. So we'll see here. Daily Business Show, again, giving you that filter draw, definitely quite important for a deck that inherently has a bit of combo to it. I think on this board state, you might be okay getting a Drago behind a single ice, trying to push in that direction, because it looks like Lou is just struggling to get together some economy, and I think Breaker Suite's going to happen after that, and that's largely attached to Endurance, I think. I don't know if you want to actually cast Breakers. Maybe you play a Cleaver and face check into a ping. Server 7, mind you, it's Near Earth Hub. We get a card draw when you build a new remote server.
And they're thinking very carefully about whatever it was they just drew, which to me usually indicates it's an agenda or something else they weren't quite ready to see in that moment.
Server 5 gets iced up. Other stuff on the table you might want to have some respect towards. I think Sansan City Grid is quite good. Admittedly, though, they're scoring out 3 2s, maybe a tomorrow's headline, but otherwise a blank Beal for 8 credits is like pretty whatever. When, again, most of this game is going to be about can you control the board state for the next couple of turns more than can they fast advance out by turn 5. So, good options here. No Purge so far.
I wouldn't be surprised to see 7-5 beat the Drago.
Yeah. I don't know. Even icing up a snare is like kind of a play I would not be surprised to see. But it's like, it is what it is. It's hard to call. Server 7's the new card, and we have seen Sauce just put it on the table. Hey, you're not checking for some reason. You don't have the economy. You don't feel safe into double a public trail. All right, well, this is a Beal. Go find it.
I think Server 7's an agenda. I
wouldn't be surprised.
Really do. I think that's decoy ice. I don't think what's behind it is necessarily useless, but I think the Server 7's an agenda.
A lot of these players too, like I don't know if they're familiar with each other, but so much of good Netrunner play is also just developing that thing we call gut. Is trying to read board state and just, feeling your way out. It sounds ridiculous, but again, sometimes it's just pattern recognition that you might not fully understand what you're doing. But yeah, we'll see. We're not running. Public trail respect is real. Throwing out a pin or threading, that's how you could check Server 5, but Sauce has some options here just to pad campaign.
Very wrong. I was very, very wrong.
So much for that gut. No, I'm just kidding. I respect those calls, and sometimes it's right.
I definitely feel like incredibly like Galaxy Brain when there's like a table full of unresed assets and things, and I just happen to snipe the agenda just because I picked a random server.
The one good one after you roll a d6 on JNet chat. There is the Drago. Pinhole is out. This is interesting. So this trades attack. Now, mind you, this is not Reality Plus, so this is actually an expensive play. It's a whole turn and 2 credits. So there's an option here that you can not use the No Free Lunch, which actually forces Sauce to, in fact, trash the No Free Lunch themselves. It is a more expensive play. Now, you're not weak to End the Line. You're not weak to Retribution, particularly, that I do think there's a chance that you can just let them pay more credits to trash the No Free Lunch. We'll see how that adds up. I'm not sure if there's single tag punishment on this board state that's actually that frightening. I might be wrong. But one pinhole
I think you're forgetting about Planogram.
Yeah, but I don't know if you want to planogram last click too, right?
Of course. I'm just teasing.
Yeah, this is tricky now. If the king doesn't have another pinhole, it's going to be hard to contest that Drago. And now they understand, right? There's probably retribution. There's definitely end of line in hand. So getting down an endurance, getting down a breaker to contest their remote server, they have another pinhole. That's why they threw out the first one. But this is the first run they've made. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see a fermenter cracked just to be able to contest the no free lunches because, or sorry, the public trails, because unless they play a no free lunch this turn, I think that's probably what you have to do. There you go. Maybe we won't see the fermenter.
So my read on this deck is there's one more pinhole.
Yep.
And that's the last no free lunch.
Yeah, there might be 3-on-3. Actually, they can't be, right? If they're on double endurance. No, they can't.
Yeah. Get up endurance.
I think you're right. 2 no free lunch, 3 pinholes probably makes more sense with Lou. Survey to draw a card.
I was 100% purging at the start of that turn with like two fermenters with 3 charges each.
Yeah, it's hard. You know, eventually that money's going to overwhelm you, but like technically King has 11 credits. I don't think you're going to pop the no free lunch for no reason, but maybe just jamming and forcing them to spend credits is maybe a bit better. But no, I hear you. I like the purge as well.
Well, they have the assets res. They have DVS rolling and stuff. Like I don't think it's terrible. And also the botulus on HQ would be wiped. So,
so if you can wipe this no free lunch, I think the unfair line is you res a Reaper function, you seamless launch a Drago, you give a tag, and then you hit somebody with end of line. I think that's like the max punish if you don't have something advanced on the table. But all of that flat out loses to no free lunch. It's really hard to beat this thing unless they end with less than 3 cards and then you can like brute force with like double seamless through a Drago, but that seems quite difficult. That's a second steel skin too. That's actually really important. I have no doubt Sauce is going to keep track of that.
We saw Sauce come up with these like really wild kill plays as well before with the Reaper and everything.
Let's see here if we just send it HQ, mind you. We could try and get that end of line, but we're going to check the top of R&D. Leech gets a counter. Imp's going to get trash something. It's kind of regardless of what it is, just to get Lou value. It's going to be a Sarevna, so don't have to deal with the killer if you don't have to deal with the sentry. And Lou's going to get a card.
Sorry, Bubbles, I cut you off before.
I cannot remember what I was going to say. Don't worry.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Okay, it can't have been that important.
Gotta discard 1 here. I feel like this matchup, Lou has fired so much less than I expected Lou to fire against an acid matchup, right?
Definitely.
Well, it's that early end of the line in hand just makes you afraid to run. Because even with a no free lunch on the board, double public trail into end of the line can kill you, or at least take out vital cards. And in a small deck like this, every card's vital.
Yeah, maybe. I think the endurances are the scary things. Like imagine holding 2 endurances and you can't like play them, but you also don't want to hold them. But I honestly don't know if we'll see a tempo end of the line because I think it's so hard to rebuild the combo that you probably have to go for lethal or don't go at all. There's the purge. I think purging Imp is so sick in this format. It feels really good. Unfortunately, there's 2 more that are going to be following its friends, but like if you lose a key combo piece to an imp, you kind of lose the game. So I can respect the max imp respect.
We haven't seen a single spin doctor popped, have we?
Nothing, no. And mind you, server 5 or 6 could be a spin doctor on top of a daily business show trigger. That's quite good. I think 6 might actually be a Reaper function. That's kind of the way Sauce has been playing. Top of R&D, Leech, second Beal, getting closer to game point. I don't know if we're on real 5-3s here. Again, Sauce is the upper seed, so they can take a game loss here, but King, he's gone back in. Looks like it's a trashable deciding want to spend the money. Again, you get a credit and a card back. It's pretty good value. It looks like it is Maryland for 3. Not the most exciting trash, but it does get you deeper in your deck for no clicks. And sure gamble to finish that turn off. Good money here. 16 public trails. Really hard when you have to triple public trail. And even then, that's not going to do it. Going to discard 1. It's an Earthrise. Back to Sauce. Sauce probably it's probably sweating a bit here. Did not go fast enough to challenge the money. Now the money is there as much as the breakers aren't. So whether you have to figure out how to score in server 5 or stick a Drago and hope the 3rd pinhole isn't alive and well, I think those are kind of the options, as much as HQ is probably in an okay spot with triple draw filter, double daily business show. And they're going to pause.
It's probably a lot of information to communicate.
You really like when your opponent like really takes time to think on their turn. It means you're not making things easy for them. And, you know,
definitely.
It's a good place to be in. Server 9, mind you,
I
drawing a card.
I feel like I'm being respected if somebody's taking the time to.
Yeah. When someone says, I'm thinking, I'm like, yeah, no, that's good. That means we're playing Netrunner. That's good.
Yeah.
Server 10 getting iced up as well. So we have 2 iced up servers, which hadn't had movement so far. 2 uniced cards on the table as well that also haven't been rezzed. I wonder if there's some wild play where you get double Reaper function into, like, I don't even know what'll do the last bit of damage through up a no free lunch. But maybe there's some snares somewhere you're hoping that get checked into. 18 cards left in the stack, not a breaker to show, a mimic in the bin, 2 botulists accounted for, 1 on the table, 1 in the heap. But Sauce understands they have to force the king to be a bit uncomfortable, so they push the issue here. Trashing an imp or installing another imp. I like that play. It gets an imp in the bin, so you can always do a Katurga if you need to. And we're charging HQ here. We know one of these 4 cards at the end of the line, and if you trash that, that's a 4 influence hit. Saryevna, though, some of these subroutines might fire if you're okay giving some credits over. Do you pay 2?
They have paid 2 by the looks of it.
It looks like, yeah, okay, so 1 subroutine is going to fire. Yeah. It's not the net damage here, so we're taking a tag and drawing 2 cards. Again, the card draw is optional. In some board states, you're a bit scared to draw in. Like, mind you, it's filtered to card draw, though, with Daily Business Show, so it seems pretty good. There you go.
Oh, neat. I didn't even think that it happened on the Runners 10. I'll see.
Yeah. Anytime a card says, right, first time each turn, you have 2 separate turns there, which is quite great. Now we are through. We have 1 tag we can clear with 2 clicks, let alone, and that's a ping from HQ. Whether you want to imp that, it's kind of up to you. Again, the imps kind of get purged out. So we're going to go get our value when we can. Now, I think with deck trackers, and if you're like real in tune to things, you can start tracking Daily Business Shows, because in theory, if you're expecting the corporation to bottom every single agenda they draw, that means if there's no shuffle, there's a point in time where the next 5 or 4 cards in a row in R&D are all agendas. Some really good runner players can actually track that deck cycling. We're playing flesh and blood here, right? And so you can know when to run R&D and just see 2, come back, see another, right? Like that's a real threat. And sometimes you need to shuffle every once in a while to break that up, because if you're only bottoming agendas, at some point, you're only drawing agendas. And you're going through 3 cards a turn. Like it's not that slow.
I wish, at least on the corp side, I wish I had that kind of big brain memory to remember, like, so I had a seamless on top of a this, on top of that. And then when I see that pattern coming out, I can remember I'm in that bit of my deck.
And like, as intimidating as that is, as note-taking is legal in competitive organized play, I think players can consider doing that, as much as like 1 Spin Doctor or 1 Maryland kind of undoes all your mental strain. So take what you can. Sauce diving into the tank here. They've already mandatory drawed, so he's not able to do any cool thing with Reaper function. But like the question is whether you give a Drago tag and see how you interact with it, or just purge out. I think that's reasonable too. That's the 2nd imp we're going to see this game.
Definitely thinking about it. I don't know. Would you patch?
I'd patch.
I really don't like imp. Like it's, as any combo deck with pieces in hand, it's kind of a nightmare. Maybe you're feeling good enough with that Saryevna. Maybe you have a Spin Doctor on the table. I think that's likely that 1 of 6 or 9 is a spin. But double advance, this is it. This is the play pattern we've seen before, that Sauce can advance, end of the line. That means there has a Reaper function on the table. That means this is a Drago. So unless there's the final steel skin in hand, and this cannot be dismantled, either by running server 10, dealing with the Drago, either by running HQ, dealing with the end of the line, or finding, I don't think there's a 3rd no free lunch here. This could be the last turn of the game. And I don't know if the king has seen this play pattern before. It would have got me off by surprise too. Jeff is trying to figure out how to spell check a scion. I don't know how to spell it either. I think it's the mix. I don't think there's an H. I reckon at this point he's looking it up on that RNDB. But those watching,
I was about to do the same.
Yeah, right. So check a Scion is an advanceable card, and it says when the runner, as long as it's installed, when the runner accesses it, yo, nice. They take a tag +1 for every advancement. So the problem is if it's a Drago, that's an issue. If it's a Chekist, enjoy your 3 tags, which is likely also an issue. Admittedly, if that's the case, you need to interact with this sooner in the turn. But if that's also the case, there's ice in front of this thing. So without an endurance, without any breakers, that's a bit tricky.
I mean, the odds are they've drawn one of their endurances by now, right? They're 23 cards through their 40 card deck.
Yeah.
So I would expect there to be one in hand. They've been avoiding net damage on things like Serevna. So, like, I would expect them to have one, and I think they've got the credits to play it. It's just a question of whether they think it's a trap or whether they think it's a Drago, and it's such a hard call. It's a coin flip, and you could die either way by getting it wrong.
And I think the wild thing too is like if you think that's a Chekist, or say worst case is like a send a message or a Beal, right? Like even if the corpse scores that, I don't think you're in a bad spot, so you might not mind. But we're checking it. Endurance coming down. If that's a ping, we have clicks left. This play, how expensive is it? I think it's 5 credits to score out, I guess, or to do the combo 4 with pad campaign, but you need this to be a check a sign here. Otherwise you're losing your second Drago. So deciding whether we ice res this, it's a toll booth. That is 3 credits gonna be coming out from the pocket of the king down to 5. Now, if you want endurance through this, it's gonna be a lot. And let's see what this is. It's the Drago.
The Drago.
So no surprise. Now that comes down either for free with a card draw or imp for a credit and a card draw. Choose how you want to use that. No tag to clear, but that if that did not get contested correctly, that could easily be game barring Steel Skin Scarring. Now, what's wild too is like, say that I think money is a problem too, but say if you end your turn on how many cards in hand, I think there's a chance like you do double Reaper function into public trail into end of the line. Like that's another way that you can close the game off. But fortunately for that, I think you need about like 15 credits. It's a lot, but that's another way that you can actually close the game out as long as they have fewer than whatever cards in hand. I think actually you only need one. Sorry, you only need 1 Reaper. Archives is revealing that server 6 was a spin doctor the whole time. So we'll see what one we're going to shuffle back. Daily Business Show, mind you, triggers on that as well. So massive filtered card draw. This also shuffles R&D, which is quite important. With only 2 credits, we're seeing there's 1 snare out of the game and a send a message. Just letting that send a message go. So maybe we can get something big res on R&D. I think getting a toll booth on R&D would probably be pretty good.
But that's the game, right? Like, they're on 4 points already.
Wait, that's just game. Did you mean to resolve the spin? Is the ask? Oh, wait, I gotta use it. Oh.
Oh, it's been a long day.
It's been a long day. I've been in that spot too. And a huge shout out to the opponent to say like, wait, do you not want to use it? Unfortunately, the opponent sees the cards they're going to get shuffled back. So you already lose some advantage there, but send a message and Drago comes back. Of course, that would have been game. So, okay. Feeling okay now? When you spend so much time to piece this combo line together, that like, you know, some of the other stuff falls apart. But yeah, I think they just forgot to remove it from game. Nice. Dirty Laundry for 5. The king's on 14 credits.
I swear I've done that like once a day.
Yeah, no, I do that all the time. Draw 3, mind you, R&D has now been shuffled, so the genders are going to come back up, let alone we know there's 3 more points in there, and we know there's real 3-pointers in the deck. Server 11, drawing a card. Again, server 10 is where you can put stuff, I wouldn't say relatively safely, but obviously more safe than 11. And 10 is going to get something planogram, last click, just to gain 3, discarding a card here. 2 more spin doctors in the game. I think we might see an HQ run this turn with the imp, considering the Serevna is well dealt with now.
So before, when they had that Drago in there with the 2 advancement counters, and they, I guess, I don't want to say agreed the decision because it was behind a toll booth, but like they could have just flipped it and applied the tag, right?
You can only do it on the corpse turn, so they have to do the turn before.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, why didn't they do it the turn before just to get rid of the Netrunner?
So if you do install advanced events with the Drago, right, you have no clicks left.
Oh,
so,
right, of course. It costs a click to use its ability. Gotcha.
Oh, no, it's not a click to use the ability. It's just they didn't have clicks left, right? Because I think they installed it that turn, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
But you're right.
Even still, like, you don't want to reveal what it is. You're hoping that the runner will be scared. out of running it. They don't want to run into a double advanced Urtica or indeed a checkered sign, which is what they were worried about. And like we came very close to them not running it. They were obviously like hedging their bets either way.
True.
Now they're running the fire, the draw subroutine. That'll give you some counters on the raindrops, but again, that's massive filter draw with the daily business show. But I don't know, maybe it gives you some surprising stuff you could imp. I do think again that end of the line has been in hand since turn 2, and that imp hasn't found it. Let's see if today is the imp's day. 1 axis. It's a snare. 3 cards in hand. Do you pay that for most of your money, dropping you down to 2 credits again? You're going to get card draw after the raindrop, so you're going to recover a bit here. This is definitely an expensive decision when most of your money there is it's going to fire into that GNK card. You do have the pad campaign coming in. Again, maybe you don't count on that, but I don't know if the imp is going to trash that when there's more pressing combo opportunities coming up. Declines to use snare.
Is Reaper Function free to res, or is it does it cost money to res?
Two, I believe.
Res.
It might be 3. It's either 3 or 2.
3?
I think, yeah, I don't know. I remember it in op chain, and I think op it comes off of the 4 costers, but I might be wrong.
Deciding not to fire the snare.
That is the first time we saw today somebody not fire a snare.
Yeah.
Snare has been huge.
Well, I mean, they had 3 clicks left, so the tag would have been removed, and they could have drawn up. Plus, you know, even if it was last click, they had the no free lunch, so.
I think the only reason you might want to fire it is to try and get the last steel skin out of hand, because it does stop your combo.
True.
But otherwise, it's massively expensive, and yeah, the tag is not a real tax. But this is good sauce. 2 more cards on the table, hedge fund. The question is there anything that if the king runs is going to really punish them? Like, I don't know if there's Urticas that'll do 2 damage on the table. Those things are, I think, a fair bit of influence, maybe 2 influence, but we're just sending it R&D again. We have that endurance. We haven't been using it that much. Top of the deck. Again, send a message. Any single axis could do that, and you can always imp yourself to seeing another card in a successful run. That's a toll booth off the top. We can go back if we want. We're going back again. There's only 12 cards left in R&D. Single axis here. Nothing.
Chat is saying Reaper Function is 3 costs.
Okay, thank you. 28 credits means that the only way you're going to land a tag is not the public trail. It's going to be the Drago. I don't know. 17 influence, mind you, is a lot. Okay, so this is an interesting start. It's happening.
Hello.
Reaper Function for 3. So 2 Reaper Functions. So we're trying not to heal the steel skin, and then we can do Drago at the end of the line. Wait. Full gamble. 3 Reaper Functions. I've never seen this. If they miss a steel skin, they hit a steel skin on the second one. They're firing all 3. They didn't have to fire the last one, but if there's a Drago on the table, they're a credit short. They're a couple credit shorts, but they didn't have to fire the last one. Unfortunately, it was known, but keeping the steel skin in hand was the most important thing. Again, maybe that's why you fire the snare there, just to get that out of hand. But if that steel skin was the last card in HQ, 20% of the time, that is a lethal. But that might be all Sauce had to go for it. Full respect for going for it. That steel skin easily could have been in the bottom, like 13 cards at the stack.
Or even the 3rd Reaper could have hit it.
Exactly,
and then you die before it fires. Yeah.
Yeah, it had to be the 1 in 5 that you hit last.
They're sort of running out of options, I think. Like with this little money and the
this deck can't score out.
I do love a deck like this though, that's like got so many different weird combos in it that it keeps the runner guessing. And they're often very fun to pilot as well, because you suddenly see a line where you didn't think there was one.
So this is difficult. Sauce has done the unfair thing their deck can do. I think with 28 credits and a no free lunch, it's going to be really hard to land a tag. It'll have to be Drago, but then you have to double Drago. I don't know if there's advanceable traps. I think there's a huge Sile relief here on the King's side. Now, again, Sauce is the upper seed, so there'll be another game after this. If they can't win, it's going to be really hard to close the game left. Again, there's only 10 cards left in R&D, while there is 2 still Spin Doctors. You have to score a lot of points with only 6 credits here. Maybe you start pushing on the table.
If there was a Spin Doctor in the field, I would have been very tempted to pop it for more Reaper Functions and put them in my deck before drawing.
Yeah, I wonder if you do that. I wonder if you just need to get the snares in. Like, maybe that's your best way out, but it's still quite an uphill fight. Now the King knows.
Only 12 HP left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just grind him down with all those snares. You're gonna need a lot of money, but like I think the king knows there. Like there's not that much reason to run, and it's hard for this deck to score out without advancing the cards on the table, especially with 2 Beals in their score area. Now single access here. Send a message could be anywhere.
Yep. Any single access can win the game. There we go.
There it is. Just a matter of time. Again, that can be the daily business shows eventually vomiting back up all the agendas that you kind of suppressed. So we're going on to a grand finals here, making the distance. Both these players, the King and Sauce, are going to flip the table. I believe it's HB versus Criminal. Had to roll the dice there. Yeah, 20% of the time you win every time. But also, again, they could have just not had this the steel skin, which is 100% win there. So I respect that. I think that was the way out on this board state, because it only is going to get much, much harder.
Yeah, we love a bracket reset.
We do. Let's clean that.
I want to keep track of how many times we've called something and then it's happened on stream. Well, like, all we need is like one access, right? Says Mubbles, and then
straight away.
So the curse is real.
That's the thing, though. As like casting, you just say everything, right? Like, there's no board state you don't want to talk about, so you just end up getting the right call more often than not. But just clip the wrong ones too, put them together. It's okay. It's fine.
I mean, what people don't know is that this isn't actually live, and we've watched the whole video through, so we're just pulling stuff we know is going to happen.
The 3-minute delay or whatever. Good game to both players. We're on to the grand finals. Man, we started how many hours ago now? We've been here for like 11 hours, so there's definitely going to be some real fatigue. We did not have the full break that maybe a day of this length deserved. Only a 20-minute break between rounds, so a lot of work to be done on both players. This is going to be the grand finals there. The last round, we're going to see Sable versus PD. This is like the kind of the quintessential Netrunner in a lot of ways. You get the pressure from the early accesses. You maybe struggle with some upgrades. Maybe you have the pinholes. And then PD has that good efficient ice, that rototurrets that if a rototurret connects into somehow into what's it called? The Matryoshka, the nesting dolls, like,
yeah.
Oh man, that's difficult. So we'll see how the respect comes down. And again, tables should be spinning up soon. If you've been just joining us for the whole day, I super appreciate that you can make your day, share your day with us playing or watching some Netrunner again. Huge shout out to all the people playing today. We had 31 players, but welcome to the grand finals. It all came down to this. Sauce there on the top. Sable, I think 2 endurance is where a lot of the influence goes. And on the bottom, PD, I think 2 anoetics, almost matching that 8 influence spend for the 10 influence spend out of faction. And we're off.
It looks like we can zoom in again.
Yeah, it feels good, right? Like, how big can Netrunner cards be? Oh, it's wild. It's so wild. Oh,
I had to turn on stacking eventually.
Breath of fresh air. All right, 44 cards, 18 agenda points. Sable can just smash centrals early. This is not excuse me, it's not Zaya, so I don't think you're as likely to see things like jailbreak, but the marks are going to be super important. HQ, can you just send a turn 1? I think you can. I don't think there's any punishment in the format. Turn 1, I don't think we're going to see harmonics, so Carpe Diem is going to give you credits and your run and your click back. We'll see if you're forced to res an ugly rototurret for 4 credits.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There's nothing you mind them resing here.
Yeah.
Like anything they res is putting down under 5 credits, which is such an important breakpoint.
So we're in. Again, a bit decision there. You see the on-sell 1.0. That's definitely one of the meaner ice. You can always click through it as much as like your killer doesn't break this very well in Criminal for somehow. Now, checking later in the turn, it's a bit difficult. If they res an on-sell, though, on this board state, whatever. If they res a Brawn, that's also kind of whatever. So now you want to set up, get your pressure down, get your economy down, hopefully get a couple more of those mark cards that really reward you for poking, especially in the early game where the PD decks, if they can't land a Regolith, they're in a really bad spot.
I'm so happy that the last game is a Sable game.
Yeah.
Me too. I love her so much.
There's the first breaker. So now if Sauce needs to respect those rototurrets, probably seen the King earlier today. I don't know if they played this side of the matchup, but the rototurret taking down a stacked Matryoshka, if you're kind of pushing the envelope, going through 2 ice with only 1 nested, that puts you back probably a lot of turns of resetting your board state. Server 1 and something in a Nico campaign is probably what you want to get here. Maybe a Regolith. Let's see, R&D is the mark. Can you just send it now that you put them in the Matryoshka? I don't know if you can.
I mean, you can't get through it, right? Like, you need a second Matryoshka on there.
Yeah, but like, you know, often you'll just want to force them to res, but if this list is running double or triple rototurret, I don't even think you can force a res here.
Yeah.
Oh, forged. We figured it out.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I love this card so much.
Forged the top tables in startup as well as standard. You love to see it.
Forcing ice res is here. So the corp has a decision. Again, giving your opponent decisions is not a good thing, yada, yada. But like, yeah, this will be good either way. R&D, let's see if we get that resed. Again, you have full information what it is. If they don't res, it's trashed. And that might mean that they can't protect their Nico in server 1. That might mean that you get an open R&D. Like, this is a really interesting decision in this deck. Like, this is a really good way to force this issue. Apparently it was on HQ to know that's a magnet. I thought we would see R&D, but maybe that's even the next level play to force a res on an uglier server so you can face check R&D or server 1. But that magnet, Matryoshka deals with it okay. I think we might just be planting here. Rototurret, let's see it. Info Bounty doesn't have the mark text on it, but it does use your existing mark, so R&D will get 2 credits. Just another magnet. Forcing a res here. I think you can now go run server 1 and trash I think you're happy trashing a Regolith or trashing a Nico. Very good play. Good criminal fundamentals. Just forcing the pressure. It's a Managarm. Okay, well, I don't know if you can afford to trash that here. That's fine. Yo, that takes me back. That's like Netrunner play of like 2013.
I love it.
That's good stuff. So now, go ahead.
I say give your opponent as many decisions as you can, especially if they've been playing Netrunner for 8 hours already. Like, they're going to get some of them wrong.
Yeah. No, yeah, just the more decision points. Yeah, hopefully one of them will go in your favor, I guess. But yeah, we're drawing up again, just clicking for credits again. PD deck needs to stick a Regolith, needs to stick a Nico, and that can be hard, but 4 credits is the threshold. Mark on R&D. The question is, how quickly can we find that second Matryoshka? And then on top of that, the second or the first Chesva would be really nice, because then Codegate, the magnet is free. You're getting through, you're getting your mark. Again, here it's actually free too. It's clickless and creditless, if I'm not mistaken, as long as you don't want to run anything else, because it's 2 to break. Oh, this is so good. Clickless access and gain 2 credits, as much as you paid up front for all this stuff. But of course you would.
You know what I love about this?
What's that?
If they make this run and get the money from Info Bounty and they snipe an agenda, it's reprise time, baby. Let's go.
I think Sauce is on reprises and we haven't seen them today. And I would love to see a reprise today.
As the tournament winning play, I would love to see it.
Again, this is the grand final, so both players definitely going to be taking their time, getting some good considerations, as much as the fatigue has almost definitely set in by now. But just drawing up again, Info Bounty now has no bad role whatsoever, considering you're going to need a third ice there. And I don't know if this HB deck can really afford a third ice. Maybe just getting something unresed threatens that Rototurret. And not that it's going to fire. I think you're glad trading your Chesva to force them to res, bounce off the magnet. But Hedge Fund there is probably a very good top deck. Comfortably now on 10 credits. You have some plays. We're not just clicking for credits. That's huge.
HQ is the mark.
Matryoshka. I haven't played with Matryoshka in person. I imagine flipping this thing up and down feels really fun. Red team. HQ, the Mark II, getting a good access there. If we just saw the hedge fund off the top, there might be an agenda here. I think the math says there should be. We've gone through 9 cards. You're assuming 1 and 5, so maybe even 2 agendas in HQ. You break for free, gain 3, gain 2, get a click back. Very good early pressure. We're through. Single axis. Seamless launch, what you expect, not what you want to see. But very good run there. Unfortunately, we're going to be limited by the amount of dolls we have. Not that you kind of want to wait for your coffee to repercolate, but that red team is going to be hitting once a turn, no doubt. Even at this point, like, you can run archives for 3 credits, but I don't think you really are in a rush to do that. Now it's on the king to ice up a central server a bit better. But even then, are you doing that at the cost of potentially pushing into a remote server? Yeah, quite likely.
I think unless it's your mark, you really want to avoid running archives with red team.
Yeah.
I think it changes the value proposition so much.
And this is it. Sorry, go ahead.
I think 8 clickless credits versus 8 credits that you sometimes have to click for, and like, it's so different.
So this, I like this play again, as much as we can make centrals a bit better. And again, if you're going to use Chesva and Matryoshka, Chesva only works on centrals, so I still think you go for the axis no matter what. Now there's a big decision of whether you want to run server 1. I think we know there's an on-sell in hand, So largely you want to run on first click than anything else. So you can still like kind of blast it into R&D and then get your click back and then contest server 1. But it looks like server 1 might sneak through. And if that is a seamless launch and we get an agenda on the table, that's a total change of tide. Leech coming down, getting more value from the central runs. Red team going to connect with the Chesva. The Mark, we're going to get a click back after this. A very valuable run. But again, a single axis is going to be enough. Off the top. Leech gets a counter. We get a click back. Offworld Office. Very good steal there. Now, mind you, our Chesva is stretched. Wait, how did they get through that?
With a Leech counter.
I don't think they flipped their Matryoshka. I don't think they paid for that. Hold on.
Yeah, I think they paid to boost and they forgot to break.
Yeah, that's why I think there's a second Chesva counter. So their Matryoshka should be flipped and their Chesva as a credit. Normally, in theory, casters are not meant to just saving clicks. Oh, okay. It's ugly on the interface. Yeah. It's worse for the stream though. Got it. No, because they actually have to pay one more, right? Because they have to flip the Matryoshka. Yeah, okay, got it. Flipping the Matryoshka, sorry, is key for the stream. Yeah, exactly. Cool. All right, yeah, so the Matryoshka is flipped, and that's the only difference about the shortcutting here is that we need to remember that this thing is placed down, and so just make sure that we understand. That's all good. No worries. Perfect. So hopefully that gets, we'll see that done properly. It's admittedly a lot of clicks to hit Matryoshka because you have to click it to boost strength, and you have to click it to flip certain amount of subroutines and break the subroutines. It's an immense amount of clicking on JNet. So I get that.
I think this far into the tournament, I would also be lazy on my
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have full sympathies there for sure. All right, Sauce thinking through here again. They can't really break another ice. They can maybe force a face check, but the rotor turret is the punishment here, let alone an unsell last click. So the option is, do they install something? Do they draw? They also have a chance of having a reprise in hand. I think that's the big thought here because I don't think there's much else you can interact on the board unless you reprise.
I wonder if they're thinking about it.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're thinking, but like, say in this situation, what I would want to do is bounce whatever they've installed into server 1 into the hand and then run the hand.
There it is.
Whoa, wait. So they didn't reprise in server 1, but they're just going back, getting the run as well. I forgot this card gives you a run. That's another access and another Vitruvius.
Oh my goodness.
Leela is blushing. Now, admittedly, that magnet is something that you could have dealt with. I think there's a chance there might be an agenda in server 1. So we'll see if that was the best reprise and bow, but definitely a very, very exciting play pattern. And I think this deck is running multiple copies of reprise. The ultimate win more for sure, but definitely a very powerful ability, especially in a deck that wants to get cheap central runs and get as many runs single axes. This is a good way to make them more impactful.
The truth is, it's not that hard, right?
Exactly.
God, I love the flavor on this card too.
That's starting with a Spin Doctor. That might get the king more options to ice up R&D again. I'm not sure you're excited to reinstall, let alone re-res that magnet that gets broken for less than free, considering the Leech and the Chesva adding up together. So I still think you face check into there. If there's an agenda in server 1 and still might not have been scored out, but double ice R&D, kind of showing that the game is probably an R&D, but I do think maybe you get an HQ mark. In fact, we do. And that's probably where we're going to end up going this turn. Almost definitely.
I'm so happy about this game. I'm so happy this is the last game.
Yeah, this is great. We've had really good
So
games on
exciting.
stream for what it's worth. I don't think we've had bad games.
Yeah, everything's been so exciting and like weird odds and commentator casts.
Dirty laundry again. We could red team, but we're going to discard a card anyways. We're going to get click back after that. So I don't think you're going to red team any other server from this point on. Maybe archives, but I don't think you can risk the roto turret until we find our second doll. So we're in. Again, there was some burst draw there in Spin Doctor. It looks like one of that ice could be a magnet. But again, if you drew into an agenda here and there's an agenda in server 1, this axis is pretty good. On HQ, Sing and Nico, that's 2 to trash if you'd like. Again, if there's an agenda in server 1, I don't know if it goes in there, but you can always use the Nico, overinstall server 1, bin the agenda, save with Spin Doctor. So you have some options here. A lot of money. 10 credits, a click left. Again, contesting Spin Doctor doesn't seem, it seems kind of important. I don't know if this list is on Ela Vigao, which is like the big punish here. but we just drew last click throughout that no free lunch, not expecting any tags, and that's a very reasonable conclusion.
Such an important card in some of our other matchups today, but here it's just something you throw in the trash.
Looks like that was the agenda there, just holding off to bunker down on R&D, and just having the rototurret respect is going to be super important. That's a Vitruvius with a counter. Very, very valuable. Again, we've seen that double seamless launch to score out, and we're just returning a hedge fund, just returning economy. Now, with 5 credits here, I do think you can just smash R&D. They can't really res 2 ice anyways. Maybe that's where you go. Again, Archives is the mark. You're going to be running that regardless. I think you can do both central servers. But you need to. This is the one turn with hedge fund in hand. You know they can't res anything. So you kind of want to send it if you can.
Well, we know like a magnet's around.
Oh, that's huge. Now, this ice on the table is not actually going to threaten the endurance. So you're just going to get free endurance counters. And barring the Mana Garm and the remote server, this is a really good corner to turn for the runner. Now, here in an awkward spot, if you res, you're not going to get the hedge fund off. So you're through. Clickless. Gain 3 credits, and then you can still safely run R&D. You're not actually worried about double ice servers, because if you find that rototurret, you just endurance the rototurret. Let's see if we have a good way to run this other central server, but just Earthrise, 1 credit for a career fair at Earthrise Hotel. Definitely not bad whatsoever. So we haven't locked R&D for a while, right? Sorry?
Clickless card draw on the Earthrise. It's just so nice to have on such an aggressive deck like this.
Yeah, very good. Lets you spend those clicks, just smashing centrals. I think we'd love to see Hero Wake compliant. A Dawkins pass would be pretty good too. But just getting any sort of value multi-access, even like the twinning, if it's in the list, is very, very good. Admittedly, it's kind of difficult with 2 endurance and a leech. Like, you're already eating into your influence pretty hard. Drawing up. Hedge fund. Have to get my charger? No.
Oh, no.
You get 8 hours in and you realize like, oh, power is an issue. All right, we're just going to pause here for a second once we get plugged in. And something goes into server 1 against. That's a Mana Garm. And we've seen the king actually be pretty aggressive, knowing that there's a lot of board states where the runner can get in, but either they decide not to because it's relatively expensive, and kind of any card on the table can be obviously any unadvanced card on the table. And we only know that there is 1 seamless launch in the bin, so they need to have one in the hand to threaten out like a 5-3, but just getting any 4-2, let alone a Luminal on the table would be a very good turning point here as well. Sauce, I'm
wondering if you use the Luminal for a pet, just because this leech is making things a little bit like less effective, especially the bigger reses.
Yeah, it's hard. I feel like if you can't tax out the endurance, the leech is like nice, but kind of a luxury. And taking a turn off is like, it's taking a turn off.
No, but after the Luminal, I meant.
Yeah. Right. Maybe you jam something more. Maybe you don't have enough money. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like with this Sesame and this leech, you've kind of built your own K2CP. Everything is lower strength. You get through everything very cheaply now.
R&D is the mark. We're going to start with the pinhole threading. This is a really cool play as well. You can use the Chesva credits. You can also threaten Spin Doctor at the same time as threatening whatever the upgrade is. We know it's a Mana Garm on top of threatening whatever is potentially in server 1. So we're actually running the Spin Doctor first. I think there's a chance you could just pinhole and then threaten the Spin Doctor. Oh, the pinhole is in their play area. They got it. I do think here, though, the respect is they want to threaten the Spin Doctor before they trash an upgrade, just so it's not shuffled back. But again, that's kind of the beauty of pinhole threading, is when you play it, you don't have to name what card you're accessing until the run's successful. So there's a chance that the corp has to respect it and also trash the Spin Doctor. So there's a chance that might be an extra click you can save on this run. Edge and Nico getting shuffled back in. So now the pinhole is going to be able to hit the Mana Garm, and then we can run the server or check what server 1 is. I think Mana Garm and run is probably a bit easier because there's not that much credit to res ice, and we do have a big old boat, let alone a Matryoshka. So we're through undo click. 3 times a charm. It is very tricky to deal with the Matryoshka and the leech. Like it's a lot of clicking. I get it. So we're through again. 3 strength going to be dropped to 2. That's what leech does. It just eats ice slowly. Mind you, in older formats, cards like this worked with ice destruction that cared about strength, but now it's just about savings, and it's quite good. That's a Mana Garm in server 1. That's probably the face down card. I'd be surprised to see a double Mana Garm server. So now we're probably going to run it. I think we have a chance that we can run R&D this click to get a click back, and with the red team get 2 credits, but we'll see if we just send it here. If that's an anoetic, I don't know if you trigger it to deny a dirty laundry. I think you're pretty happy if the corp does that.
An answer would be a nice res here.
I think it has to be.
Yeah, it being less click, like no clicks to save you if you hit something scary.
And there's like actually bad combinations here. There's the on-sell, so that's going to be most of the endurance. And very luckily, sorry?
Scream curse again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a chance Sauce could have seen this one coming. They saw it early. I think this was the most likely for this ice to be. But what's really good is that currently the corp is on 3 credits. If they're on 4 credits, you actually can't continue this run because they risk Rototurret. Currently, the only thing they risk here is like Magnet, which if they res a Magnet to go down to 0 to deny your dirty laundry, I think you're okay. As much as this, you have to endurance through, which that's annoying, but you might be getting some points for your trouble. Maybe even send a message. That'd be pretty surprising.
So you can only break 2 of these.
Oh, I think you can endurance all of it.
Oh, you can. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's just massively inefficient. I don't think any of these you want to trigger. Asking for Rototurret, it is 4 to res, mind you. This is a card as old as 2012, original HB core set. I think one of the 2 centuries they had back in the day. Now this has some really fantastic virtual art. But this thing has always been a fear for a while. And now it seemed to have come back in a big way today in Startup. It's good to see our old friend. So Sauce thinking here.
It's always been a little bit like a silly little gun.
Yeah.
Like it's never been scary like any of the other ice. It's just a silly little gun. Oh, Ravana. Yeah, absolutely.
That would be so good.
Yeah, that's the one thing that hits hard. You barely see Ravana though, but in terms of getting high strength code gates in the format, HB, that's all they have. Palisade is just good enough. Just good enough. Gonna end the run there. 1 boat counter short again. I think there was a chance you might have been able to run R&D to hit your mark to get all the value and then come back with 6 boat counters. Obviously, that's a lot. Oh, sorry. We already got a boat counter, so you wouldn't have more boat counters. You just have more money. That doesn't solve it. But now on 0 credits with centrals, R&D, and archives kind of wide open. What do you need to do here? Click to 3, next turn score Luminal. Is there anything you're pulling back? Install an upgrade of some sort is one of these, and then click for 2. So Ice on R&D is not going to get res, and that's our mark this turn. No, sorry, HQ. I did a refresh. Whatever. Still good. We'll take it. Here is where you'd love a reprise. Reprising the on-sell is like absolutely bonkers. Reprise, mind you, add and install the corp card to HQ. It doesn't say unresed. It's not Leela like that. It's actually stronger in some ways as much as it costs you a card and some money. But Sauce deciding here again, they have to, if there's a send a message in the list, and I think there's probably 2, they can win on the single access. So we haven't seen any actual multi-access as much as we've just seen value access, which like that's still quite good. But maybe we'll see a legwork. Maybe we'll see a dock and spas, a wake implant. Those are all the sort of stuff we expect, and we haven't seen it just yet. But I think this turn, you definitely want to get that successful run. No doubt we can, just to get those endurance charges up. So we're contesting again. We're only going to get 1 a turn. You definitely want to get that 1 a turn.
Is this the deck we saw white space in?
Yes.
Oh, so that is an option on 2 credits.
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
Now they break it for free, but yeah, it's something that will slow you down. Pinhole to start. Now we're running archives here, assuming that there's not going to be anything resed. And again, you can use the Chesva credits to see what's in server 1. The question is whether they're going to see the top card or the bottom card. On 2 credits, you can respect the corp to score out here. So this is frightening. This also does get you an endurance counter, so you're kind of halfway there to your goals. Now, Anoetic Void, we'll see. This is almost definitely going to get trashed. But we're going to see that seems to be the new card. So it looks like the card in server 1 is probably an agenda that the king is just trying to hold on to. The question is, can you get through this server? We're going to go next, Carpe Diem. Just for credits, we're not running because I think we need to keep our Matryoshka. And now we can run this remote server. It's going to cost us 3 credits to check this remote server. On sell, you blast through with the leech, get to flip the Matryoshka over. You get an endurance through the Palisade. And we're going to see a card here again, almost definitely agenda. I'd be so surprised if it was anything but maybe that's up to the king to force this to make it look like it's something really wild. And we spend all these resources to like figure out what Spin Doctor looks like. Off-world. Good pressure here now. You can still
tons of fighting trying to get that off-world like out of that server, like for both sides really.
And like that costs a lot. Like Sauce did not hit their mark that turn. Again, there's red team money, there's info bounty money we're leaving on the table, let alone click list. But that's the problem. As soon as they get a second Matryoshka, the stuff that they can do is blown wide open. But this turn, the king has pretty good confidence that endurance is not going to break any ice. So it's about, can you find that next Matryoshka? There's four more on the list, and Earthrise is going to find 2 more. So definitely a bit of an uphill fight here. But just going to put in a remote server. Just have to force them to try and see what this is. And again, if they don't run, this can always threaten to be a 4-2 with a seamless launch in hand. Mark.
It's so exciting though, like when you work hard to get into a remote server finally, and it pays off. It's like
that was like a 3-turn play, right? Like they chipped away that server. That's really cool.
And there's a Menagom. They had to like pinhold the Anoetic, like very clean play.
Yeah.
We're drawing up. Again, Matryoshkas, you're probably playing the full stack of all 6. Maybe you don't have to. Maybe 5 is good enough. You can run the numbers yourself, but R&D is the mark. And with 3 credits, maybe 1 ice gets res. I think we think a magnet might be there. But instead, we're going HQ here. Again, this is going to cost you your Matryoshka. So this means we're not likely running R&D. Maybe you can respect on 3 credits. There's no rototurret, so you're fine just planting R&D. I think you could consider that. But I'm surprised we haven't seen our mark run in a minute here. That's going to be the flipped Matryoshka. Chesva, we're going to spend credits. We're going to save Leech credits. That might mean we're not running again. Palisade from HQ. Dirty Laundry getting the money back. Leech on 4. I think we need to see another doll here.
Yeah, there's like 6 in the deck.
6 in the deck, and we're like 2/3 the way through this deck.
We're only going to see further verbal draw.
It could be less than 6, but you know.
Yeah, I think some runners are considering running 5 because like with endurance, it's not the biggest priority, but yeah, it's a priority. That's a Nico. That's actually kind of good. If that's going to be in the remote server, it's going to be in the remote server for a couple turns. So the king now with a hedge fund is actually going to threaten rezzing just about every ice in their deck. And so you definitely need to find that Matryoshka off of the verbal and then force the corp to spend more money on R&D than you are. But the longer also the Nico stays, the longer that cards are going to clump up in HQ. Archives is a pretty good mark here, I think, all things said.
I think the problem for the king here is that remote server is actually still pretty porous. Like 3 clicks to get through Ansel and flip your Matryoshka and you're in there. Admittedly, that's your whole turn, but you only need 1 agenda to win the game. You can afford a bad tempo turn.
There's a red team. That's a road turret. It's good to know where those are. Seeing those on the table feels pretty good. That's just going to be the Chesva credits. Now, this still gets you your click back. It still gets you everything. But now this turn, there's almost no way you can face check. Actually, you can probably still face check into R&D, right? Like, they can't res a road turret. The 4 to 3 credit threshold difference is, like, so important in this matchup.
I mean, they could. There's a magnet, right?
Yeah, but...
like, definitely a magnet.
You're fine with that, right? They spend 3 to end the run. Oh, there she is.
True.
Mind you, I think they all have the same flavor text on JNet, which like, that's fine. Second red team, we're hitting HQ again. There was a top deck last turn that had nowhere to go. If we do the math, we've drawn through 20 cards. We've seen 4 agendas. That's kind of what you expect. And we've seen a bit of filtering with Spin Doctor, but I think there were non-agenda cards shuffled back. So this is going to see 2 cards. We're going to get Docklands Pass, or sorry, red team as well as the Docklands Pass. Nico. That's not going anywhere. You can trash it to see more cards next turn or more consistently see other cards next turn if you're coming back. That's definitely...
They're exploiting the corp's lack of a remote at the moment by saying, hey, you can't keep agendas in HQ until you've got a good enough remote server. I am going to come in there and I'm going to look every single turn.
Trash and Nico, see a third Nico. Okay, it's all Nikos. It's Nikos all the way down.
This is a 44 card deck. All 44 cards are Nico.
But this is really ugly now, right? If you top deck an agenda and you don't spend clicks drawing, like you run HQ, you see the agenda. So does that mean you overinstall the Nico? Does that mean you just draw up more and then hope the Docklands Pass doesn't like flood you up or like really punish you? This is a really ugly turn. And the Criminal's been putting on so much pressure that, again, it's hard to build a scoring remote. This is a really good ice suite. Or sorry, excuse me, like a breaker suite. King here, drawing up 1 again. Still really difficult. A second ice on HQ is probably not going to hold out the endurance and the Chesva, let alone the leech. Again, you're going to get in for basically whatever subroutines cost. So we just have to commit to draw 3. I think a single run here on HQ, let alone a legwork, heaven forbid, is very likely to seal the game. We are 25 cards in. You're expecting about 5 agendas across that spread. You're going to draw 2 more in mandatory and Nico next turn. So we're just sending it. Red team, R&D, mind you, is the mark. Here we're in Leech. Going to lower that strength down to 2. We're going to pay 1 off the Chesva. Again, your Magnet's mostly there for that Anarch matchup. We haven't seen it perform really well against Shaper or Criminal. We're going to see 2 here. This could easily be the whole tournament. Regolith as a start.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take that down. And a Spin Doctor. That's 5 credits worth of trashables. The Regolith is going to stay. The Spin Doctor, you're probably a bit more excited to trash with your Chesva credits. Now, you can go back here, but it's worth noting Docklands Pass is not HQ interface. It's the first time, and your Chesva credits are a bit low, but as long as you can contest the remote server next turn, maybe you need to draw into your 3rd pinhole. You're in an okay spot, potentially. Maybe you want an Econ card here. Maybe you can actually afford to run R&D. I don't know. If there is a Rototurret, maybe you don't want to spend your endurance on that, but 3rd Matryoshka.
With Corp only on 2 points, I'm happy camping the remote and just making sure I've got enough endurance counters, I've got enough dolls down, that whatever they do, I'm getting in. For that reason, I might have trashed that Regolith, because all it takes is dropping that Regolith in there, putting something else on that remote, and then if the runner does run it, you've created a scoring window.
It's hard too, right? Like there, unfortunately, is the Regolith, but the Regolith just gives them something to put in the remote server. The fact that it's immediately res, though, gives Sauce an interesting decision, right? Like they can spend a pinhole to trash this, but then they're not contesting upgrades. They can run to trash this, which puts them off money, and money's kind of what they need to not lose on R&D, but HQ being a mark here, I think we're actually in a pretty good spot. We'll see if Verbal can draw into any sort of run event, but the twinning, you're going to see 3 cards from HQ this run. That is the last influence. I think there's 1 floating, maybe a second leech. Red team.
Yeah. This is a pretty close match. They're at 6 agenda points. I'm just sad that we won't see more reprise.
Yeah, I know. That's the problem. Is when you're on game point, your reprises feel terrible. But like, we saw a reprise. I'm happy.
Yeah, definitely.
So the 20, mind you, charges off the Chesva, and you can use it the turn it comes down. We can see 3 here if you want to flush, and I think we will. Again, the Nico did draw a fair bit that turn. Docklands. Is there agenda? Anoetic to trash that for 1? Almost definitely. Palisade is the big old barrier. And send a message.
There it is.
The last agenda in hand. Sauce coming back there, losing 1 game in finals, but we're 8 hours in. A good game to both players. Fantastic showing. Top tables, seeing PD, the stalwart you expect it to be maybe, but hasn't really performed well. It started for a while now. And then on the other side of the table, the neutral AI and reprise. Obviously, there's an endurance there, but Criminal taking it so cool. Good game to both players.
That was so exciting.
What an amazing
that was
tournament.
so clean. That was so clean.
That is like such a good homage to like 2014, the sort of Netrunner like people really kind of pine for if you've been playing for a while time, like Criminal multi-axis pressure and like HB building up taxing enough servers and upgrades. Just like real great stuff.
The King played really well, just to the outs, just like trying to build servers and like trying to make,
yeah, no,
work with what they had, try to get money back.
For sure. Yeah, that early game was something to be weathered, and I think the King was almost out of that that hurricane, which
it looked like it, especially with as soon as the Nikki got res and started ticking away. I was like, they're probably out of the storm.
Yeah, well played, is said. Yeah, well played to both players, and oof, I think that's it. Congrats to both of these finalists. Congrats to everyone we saw today. Not only the people in the top cut, but everyone joining into this event. Again, we had 31 players show up. It was at 11 o'clock. That's like somehow 8 hours ago. Why did I convince myself that this was going to take like 6 hours? I'm glad it didn't, honestly. So thanks so much for taking the time to join us. Everyone who participated, we're going to slowly shut the stream down here. I just need to have a whole bunch of shout outs. Firstly, of course, I'm joined here by Asphyxia and Marbles. Thanks so much for taking the time. In fact, it was kind of a last minute offer. I was struggling to find, I realized I needed some support on the microphone. I thought I could do it all myself, and I'm so glad I didn't. It's an absolute pleasure to be sharing a mic with y'all.
Yeah. Asking for help is good. Asking for help is good.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a really wonderful day.
Thank you so much. And on that note, too, I need to give a huge shout out to Cror, who all the way on the other side of the world is up late, volunteered halfway through the event to judge. And I am a huge respect to that. I need to give a huge shout out, of course, also to Yusengrin, not only for all the good work on the, on the oracling, but also he's been answering most of my questions about how to run organized play. And of course, the biggest thank you to my partner, Maddie, who's been spending the whole afternoon in the living room organizing all this stuff and getting all the pairings in. She's the absolute best. I hope she can hear me. Of course, we'll go give her
a sweetheart.
A good old hug once this is over. And of course, thanks to everyone for coming out and taking the time. Again, we're gonna be running more of these events over the next little bit. I just picked up my second GNK kit again. It won't be next week, so don't worry, it'll be in a bit. But thanks so much for joining us for this whole event. And we'll see you in a bit. We'll be streaming on Thursdays. Drop by on a Thursday. It'll be fun. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.